Welcome back to Pixels and Pints. It's a balmy March evening. It's not really. It's actually quite cool and pleasant outside. I had a lovely walk just before. Tonight we are bringing you our usual dose of shenanigans, a bit of news, a bit of reviews. We've got a little abstract in our spotlight. But of course, I am joined by Dan.
Hello.
And Pete.
Hello.
And I am Tom. I am your master of ceremonies tonight and forever. And as usual, we're trying a bunch of beers while we do this. That's always the fun part of recording these episodes, is trying a bunch of beers. Who wants to kick off with what they're drinking?
I haven't poured mine yet, but I'm going to make a mess, so I bought a paper towel.
Ooh.
Okay. Well, Dan figures out how to pour a beer.
That can be taken any way you would like to take it.
Dan's super excited about his beer. I'll go first. So I'm drinking Dangerous Ales Blackberry Bandits.
Nice.
Oh, Dan's got a nitro. Blackberry Bandits, Blackberry Sour. It's 6.8%. There's really no information whatsoever on it other than Pete's going to get trashed if he drinks too many high ABV beers tonight, and I've only got 4 high ABV beers tonight.
Yeah, I made a mess.
Classic.
Excellent. This is a lovely dark red color.
I was looking at that in the shop today, actually. Thought about getting it. Well, that's a heady pour.
It is a heady pour. But it's my turn, Dan.
It's
Shut
nitro.
up.
It's nitro. You tell me to shut up, and then you're halfway through a fucking mouthful, and you don't fucking talk. So come on.
It's an excellent sour. Actually, it's interesting. I was thinking while I was sipping, because it's got an edge of sweetness to it as well, and almost a dankness to it. But it smells like fucking strawberry jam in a good way. Just it's a breakfast beer. Have it with toast.
Oh, I've got a breakfast sour later on too, Pete. Completely opposite end of the spectrum, but we'll get to that.
Like a marmalade style.
We'll get to it.
Nice and bitter. This is fucking excellent. I'm really
sour.
I hate it. It's a milk stout.
Milk stout sour.
I'm really impressed by this. It's 100% strawberries on the nose. It's got a real sour whack to it all the way through, but it's got just this edge of sweetness in the back palate. You get a lot of dark berries throughout the flavor profile. That's excellent. I'm going to give that a 4.5. That's a great way to start the night.
How good?
Oh, that's better. Oh God, that's so good. It's honestly like eating strawberry jam in a beer. Yum.
Should it be blackberry jam?
Probably should, but listen, my tongue has been rewired by 20 years of smoking. Tastes awesome. Might not taste what you taste, but whatever.
That's being silly. For those who are wondering, Dangerous Ales are down in Milton in New South Wales. The Milton pub on the down near Mollymook, South Coast. Lovely little place. Highly recommend. Go visit.
Yes.
Yeah. I do feel bad that I didn't get blackberry out of it. Maybe that's the sweetness. I don't know. Anyway.
All right, Dan, what have you made a mess with?
I actually didn't make that big a mess. It's all over my hands, but my room smells like a beautiful, beautiful honey jumble. Do you know what? Have you guys had honey jumbles?
We've talked about this on the podcast at least twice now. Yes.
We have we? Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
You bring up honey jumbles in beers.
I know, right? It's quite
often.
It's his thing.
Really?
It's his shtick.
See,
it's like,
I don't know about that.
I can think of at least 3 beers that you've referred to honey jumbles in.
Okay. Well, this is actually liquid honey jumbles. It's fucking it's amazing. And I apologize to James, my friend, if he listens to this, that this is the second can, and no, I'm not bringing it to work because I'm drinking it here.
It was promised to someone else, is what I just heard, Dan.
Well, it was promised that I would bring it in and split it, and then I'm like, no, fuck it. I'll jump on the website and see if I can get some more. So this is Sailor's Grave from Victoria. There's a lot of very small writing on the back, but it's on a silver can, so I probably could read it, but there's a lot there. This was, one of my friends drove up to Sydney and grabbed a mixed case of Sailor's Graves beers for me on the way through, and this was one of the ones that he got for me, so I'm very grateful for that. This is their Nitro Honey Bush Braggot.
Ooh.
And it is fantastic. I love it. He got me 2 cans of this. This was the first can I opened because I do like myself a good braggot when good braggots are made. And it's fantastic. It's got a real biscuity malt backbone. So it's obviously got some Maris Otto, which is an English malt, which is really biscuity, or something similar, Vienna or Munich malt, which are biscuity, and very few specialty malts in it. It's probably got maybe some light crystals in it to give it a really beautiful sort of burnt honey, toffeed honey kind of look to it. And that biscuitiness and the honey combined with the smoothness of the nitro just makes for an amazing product. I love it. It's hands down one of the best beers I've had in the last 3 or 4 years.
Wow.
And
Wow.
I know it's probably not for everybody, but I think it's expertly made, perfectly served, and beautifully balanced. So
there's one more important facet to this beer, and it's probably the super small text you mentioned on the back of a silver can, but I'm going to read out, not verbatim, but some of it. Honeybush Braggot, inspired by traditional fermented beverage made by First Nations people by fermenting nectar-heavy Banksia cones in water. So it's obviously a traditional style, but inspired by Australian Indigenous beverage or fermented beverage. Our version uses pure Banksia serrata honey from our sweet friends at Tambo Valley Honey, resulting in a toffee caramel beer base with a deep floral character. It's a collaboration between Sailor's Grave Brewing and Nuragunyu, who I assume are either a First Nations organisation or it might actually be the mob from that area.
Yeah.
I don't know where did you say Sailor's Grave were based?
They're down sort of inland Victoria. They're Forest Road, Orbost, Orbost.
Okay. Let me have a look at
And from memory, Dan, because I guess we probably should explain the style, that Braggots, they're like a mead beer hybrid, aren't they?
Yes. Yeah, definitely. And that's what I mean. It's definitely not going to be for everybody. Like, people will try this that are like hop heads
drinkers,
or like big stout drinkers or whatever, and they'll go, well, it just lacks flavor. And well, it doesn't. It's a beautiful balance of the botanicals and honey and the malts and everything that they've decided to use. I think I love it. I think it's fantastic.
It's a beer that revels in its subtle flavors rather than the smack you in the mouth millennial beers that we're all drinking.
Yep.
Sorry. Had to go there. Nuragunyu is an organisation created to provide Australian Aboriginal education, cultural awareness, and enrichment programs. So it's not the local mob. It's an organisation to connect with the Indigenous population, which is
and
awesome.
Now I feel really bad about not wanting to read the 2 paragraphs, three paragraphs on the back of the can, because it's just too much.
Yeah, and it's on a silver can and it's fine print, so that's why you've got me.
You can actually read it, but it's just a lot of text. It's a lot of text for like my modern brain that just doesn't want to deal with a lot of text. I say that, and I'm going to talk about a very text heavy game.
Your modern brain. Anyway. You're an old man like the rest of us. What did you give it out of 5?
I still live in this fucking modern era. I need to be lying in bed before I'm reading that much text. It's 5 1/4. Because I've got to stick to my quarters.
He's broken the system there.
Fucking hell. All right, Tom, you're up, mate.
Scale of 1 to 10, you are 11. I am drinking... I'm drinking a good beer, but it's not a beer I like. I've fucked myself again. I'm having the Eden Brewery Birch Wit. It's a beautiful can.
But you're not a big fan of wit beer?
No, Belgian styles just don't like them, but I can appreciate that this is a very well-made beer. Eden Brewery, Pete, it is, the Birch Wit. It is somewhere on the can.
5.2%.
Ooh,
It's a Vit beer.
5.5 according to the can.
See, that pisses me off. I'm looking at it fucking Untapped, and it's
Don't trust Untapped.
I know, but they've also got packaged in bottles, so they may have done a different run with a different ABV.
Well, they've switched to cans now. So yes, it says a traditional Belgian wit brewed with a host of spices, including New South Wales grown sunflower seeds. Hence all the sunflowers on the can. Look,
I quite like that can.
Yeah, it's cool. They've recently redone their entire range, and their new cans are very cool. You should. They got some really good designs.
But they're not based in Eden, are they?
Mittagong.
Yeah, they're down south, Barrel.
Yeah.
Yeah, but Eden's a lot further south than Mittagong.
Yeah.
No. But yeah, it is spicy. It is that classic Belgian kind of flavor. It is nice and light. But it's just not a style that I enjoy. But it's I don't know what like the sunflowers, what they would really add to it in terms of like
bitterness. I would have thought
maybe, yeah. Like it's definitely got like a nice clovey spiciness to it, like that those characters are really shining through. And yeah, it's just. But again, it's just not a style I like. It's like I've had like 2 sips and I'm like, I've got to go through the rest of it because I don't sink pour unless there's something wrong with the beer.
Eden use a wheat beer yeast for so many of their beers. Like I had an American pale of theirs that was brewed with a wheat beer yeast. Like,
yeah.
Okay.
Or like,
yes.
So here's my thought process when you were talking about what sunflowers taste like. I was just picturing it like trying to chomp down on a sunflower to figure out what it tastes like, and then I couldn't get the image of Sid out of my head eating the last dandelion. Carry on. Did you give it a score out of 5? I say 10.
Oh,
yeah.
Gotta work out who the fuck
It's the last dandelion.
Carl, he's ruining our salad. I would definitely give that a 4. It is a very well made Belgian wheat beer. It's just not Tom's kettle of fish, and he keeps doing it to himself. But that's fine.
It's good. It's the only way to expand your horizons is to climb out of your comfort zone, mate.
I just like punishing myself, really.
Whenever anybody
self-flagellation going on there.
When everybody talks about sunflowers, all I see is for some reason like cockatoos sitting there eating sunflower seeds because they like chew around it and spit the husk out, and I find it the most amusing thing. I don't know why.
Lots of people eat sunflower seeds. Must taste like something. Can't just be fucking grit. And I am changing it. It is Blackberry. It's now turned into Blackberry jam now that my sour beer has warmed up a little. It is very Blackberry, actually.
You have some more blackberries, Pete. Go get some blackberries from the shops.
Shall we move on to some news?
We interrupt this broadcast with some breaking news from the front.
Some news.
Some news. We are desperately trying to avoid fake news. So Microsoft is still in court with pretty much every regulator on God's green earth, trying to get this acquisition of Activision Blizzard through. But they have, in the meantime, signed a 10-year binding contract with Nintendo that basically guarantees that any Xbox and Activision titles, including Call of Duty, will be parallel launched on Nintendo appliances at the same time as Xbox consoles. So what they're saying is we won't do any Xbox exclusives that preclude you from getting the same game on Nintendo for a fixed period of time.
Who in their right mind is going to use a Switch to play Call of Duty?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Well, as someone who owns a
Call
Switch,
of Duty,
it is fantastic for Nintendo games. But that's where I draw the line.
Yeah.
Does it even have the balls to run it, Tom?
Probably. I mean, it wouldn't be the same version. No. It'd be. I definitely. It's
a scaled up PlayStation Portable. Let's be real.
Yeah. I mean, it's a bit more powerful, but yeah. It's
that's why I say scaled up. It's like a Wii, but
it is. It's a portable Wii. It's very and it's great for what it is, but it's not something that if I again hated myself enough to play a Call of Duty again, I definitely wouldn't be doing it on that. That'd be one of the most annoying games to play on that console.
You think you have to deal with 10-year-old kids yelling obscenities at you on Call of Duty now? Add the fucking Nintendo population to the mix.
No, because they're much younger. They're much younger crowd on Nintendo. They'd be quite polite.
That's what I'm saying. It's just going to be you're going to be.
Please, mister, can you show us how to capture this point?
Yeah, no worry, kid. Let's go.
More teabagging. Fuck
Yeah.
you.
Follow me, Sonny.
I got fucking teabagged playing Far Cry multiplayer the other night. I was so impressed. It was so good.
If you can do it in the game, somebody does. It's
Yeah,
that
no,
simple.
this guy and I would we were always on opposing teams. We were like, it was round robin, and just he started it, and I was like, oh, it's on now. So every time we killed each other, we were just teabagging.
I'm amazed that I've only witnessed it once in Pavlov in virtual reality, but I was in tears laughing when I saw it.
So
Because someone is, that someone's standing in their fucking living room, literally squatting up and down to do it. It's fucking great.
Yeah.
What were you going to say? Sorry, Dan, we cut you off, mate.
Actually, Pavlov. I can just see you playing Pavlov on the Wii with those little tiny Joy-Cons.
Right.
Yeah. Well, you know what? You go to Etsy, you can buy braces for the new Sense controllers, specifically with buttstocks, so you can brace it properly against your body and look down your scope.
Yeah, but that wasn't the funny thing. The funny thing was trying to do it with Wii controllers, little Wii Joy-Cons. Yeah.
Thanks for that. David F. Sandberg has replied to critical reviews of Shazam 2. So apparently Shazam 2's getting really good viewer ratings and really bad critical ratings. So the critics are destroying the movie, but apparently everyday Joe likes it. But he basically he released a flurry of tweets addressing the criticism he's been getting, or the negative reviews he's been getting, saying that, I learned a lot about making movies, and I wouldn't trade it for a second, like my experience for a second. But fuck this shit, I'm out. I'm going back to making horror movies. Superhero movies have just stressed me out way too much. Not interested in the dialogue that you have to participate in to create a superhero movie. So it just seems like he just didn't want to deal with the toxicity anymore. And there is a lot of toxicity
Warner Brothers,
around.
so makes sense.
Yeah.
Well, once you finish this piece, I'm going to interject my last piece of news from the bottom of our news list, because it's relevant here as well. So have you finished your thoughts on that? No? Okay. Well, Damon Lindelof and Justin Britt-Gibson have exited Star Wars project ahead of the film's official announcement next month. And
who are they? Sorry,
Game of Thrones dudes.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah,
well, we know they can't stick a landing, so.
Well, they've done several other. Well, he's done several other things. I don't know what he's done in conjunction with with that guy as well. But
right.
I mean, the quote he wrote here, or the quote he gave to, I don't know. I'm pulling this from Star Wars News.net, StarWarsNewsNet.com. And this is the direct quote from the interview that he had. I probably should find out who actually did the interview. Interview with Slash Film at South by Southwest. So the quote was, I would just say that for reasons that I can't go into this Sunday morning, and this is only a couple of days old, on this day, the degree of difficulties to make a Star Wars project is extremely, extremely, extremely high. If it can't be great, it shouldn't exist. That's all I'll say, because I have had the same association with it as you do, which is it's the first movie I saw sitting in my dad's lap, 4 years old, of May 1977. I think it's possible that sometimes when you hold something in such high reverence and esteem, you start to get into the kitchen and you just go, maybe I shouldn't be cooking. Maybe I should just be eating. We'll just leave it at that. That point. So it's interesting that we've now got the DC movie that's going to lead into the reboot now as well. And that the director you just spoke about, I've already forgotten his freaking name.
David F. Sandberg.
Yeah, that's saying that he
wants out.
I'm out.
Well,
I'm not doing superheroes.
I don't know, that quote you just read. So a couple of things. Justin Britt-Gibson's a nobody. I mean, no.
I do need to correct myself. Damon Lindelof was Lost, not Game of Thrones.
Lost.
He was Lost. Yeah. He also wrote Lost. The other one. The other person, Justin Britt-Gibson. Yeah, I corrected myself. Has written 5. Thanks, Dan. 25 minutes. I'm writing that down. Bastard. Yeah, he's written for 5 different TV shows, but none of them have been really all that big other than The Strain. Damon Lindelof, on the other hand, has written fuckloads of really good stuff. He was an EP on Prometheus, but he wrote Star Trek Into Darkness, produced Tomorrowland. He was an EP for Watchmen. So he's been around, man. He's been around for a long time.
Something there for World War Z as well.
Yep. He was the producer for the original Star Trek, like the new universe
J.J.
movie.
Abrams one.
Yep.
Which goes to his association with Lost as well, because that's an Abrams project.
Yeah. So he wrote World War Z. He was the screenplay writer that converted it from a book. So Cowboys and Aliens, he wrote the screenplay. So
I wish I didn't know that now, but yep. Here I am defending him.
But your quote, so sorry, I probably got a bit carried away with his fucking resume, but your quote's pretty neutral, though. All it really says is, I really wanted to get involved in a Star Wars project, but then I got there and realized maybe I'm not cut out for it. It didn't necessarily mean
potentially that
Favreau fucking caned him into making sure that it was an amazing product. But I
Well,
wouldn't expect
I don't-
anything less.
It'd be Filoni. It wouldn't have been Favreau.
Well, I mean, neither of them have got ultimate say at the moment. Kathleen Kennedy's still steering that boat. So, just that first line was just saying, I will say that the reasons I can't get into the 3 extremely high on the difficulty level in that quote says to me that he was either
not cut out for it,
or by the higher ups told to toe the company line and do it how they want it, not how he wants it. That's kind of what I read into it, just because of the shitstorm that's surrounding some other things in that Disney vicinity at the moment.
Yeah. Well, there was the special effects person who. Oh no, that's MCU. Carry on.
Well, that's what I mean. The Disney vicinity, the whole shitstorm there.
That's a mess that hasn't finished unfurling too.
Yeah,
I can't remember her name, but she left. She was the senior visual effects person for all the physical and CGI effects for the entire MCU history. And she left, and now all these people have come out of the woodwork saying that she was horrendous to work for. So it feels like we're watching a plane crash really slowly into the ocean on the horizon.
Well, I mean, just give the reins to Filoni and Favreau and just hope they do a better job than the start of Mandalorian season 3.
Yep.
I mean, I would just like to say that it's probably a good thing if he was going a bit off range, off the reservoir with his own take on it. That's probably a good thing that they reined him in and he's then gone, nah, okay, fine, I'm not going to do it. Because you don't want another Last Jedi scenario where it completely derails.
You don't want any of the last 3 movies.
But we also need something fresh. So, I mean, this movie was meant to. I think this was meant to be coming out in theaters December 25. So, and if he's now gone, apparently the director is still on board. So he was writing and somebody else was directing. I should have done. Shireen Obad Chinoy. I completely apologize if I've absolutely butchered that name. But they're the director and they're still on board.
What's the name of the movie that we're talking about? Star Wars.
It hasn't been announced.
Right.
It was meant to be announced at Celebrations in the next month or two.
Got it.
So if they're still going to target a 25 release and they've just lost the main guy writing the story, what fucking shitstorm are they going to pull together if they're going to stick to that schedule?
But that's got to be he refused to do rewrites because in order for them to even really have anything to start filming for principal photography, they would have to have a script already. So the powers that be above him have said, no, we don't like that, and that because it needs to align back into this other thing that we're doing. And he's like, fuck you.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's all conjecture. This is fake news, folks, just so we're clear.
It's all
conjecture. Making this shit up.
It is all conjecture. Yeah. It's not fake news, but it's all just our opinions on it. And just yeah. And it's fresh news too. We might get some more information that pops out in the next month or so, but it's just disappointing that the next theatrical release of Star Wars has already hit a major roadblock. and we know
As long as we don't
what's-
end up with a Suicide Squad.
several of them have. Yeah,
Yeah, we've lost Rogue Squadron. That's not coming out now.
no, that's gone. Yep,
It's devastating. But yeah.
God, we hope to hell they've taken that fucking Taika Waititi movie off him. So I don't know if I'm alone in that. You two were very quiet on that comment.
I haven't enjoyed the
generally-
last two Taika films that I've seen, and they've both been Thor films. So,
Yeah, okay.
shall we move on? We've got some
Sure.
sad news to
Move
move
on.
into.
Yeah,
Unfortunately, Lance Reddick passed away, age 60, apparently of natural causes. I think that's a misnomer. I think it's more just the police are confirming that they don't suspect any kind of foul play.
I mean, yeah, you can die of natural causes anytime. I could die of natural causes right now. Damn it.
for
Still
those
gotta go
who
to work tomorrow.
Fuck, damn. For those who don't know who Lance Reddick is, he's in John Wick. He's the concierge. Is he the concierge?
He
Yep.
is.
he's
It's kind of like the hotelier, but yeah, concierge. In John Wick, he was in The Wire. Never watched it.
He was the captain in The Wire. He was very good.
Yeah, cool. Resident Evil. He's also the main antagonist in the Horizon video game series, and apparently he was in the White Men Can't Jump remake I didn't know existed.
didn't know it existed.
He was
And
also-
will not watch.
He was also in, the game that sold many, many hours of my life. He was one of the main guys in Destiny. He was Commander Zavala.
He was too. I did see a note on Destiny.
And he was an active player of that game too. And there's been several very lovely tributes videos that have come out where they've all gone and stood in the tower with him, and because his character model's always there, which is quite nice, a quite fitting tribute. And apparently his wife's like, it's broken her because she's just like, he loved that game so much. And to see the players like really getting behind him was kind of like, that was a good touch.
Yeah,
well
that's
done
cool.
to the Destiny community.
community.
It's probably the nicest thing you've ever done.
Yeah. Probably doesn't help that they're all bored shitless of being on the fucking treadmill.
Yeah, well, I mean,
Speaking of which, I don't know if you guys saw, but Borderlands 3 is on special on the PlayStation Network at the moment, so I've picked up a copy. I haven't started it yet, but speaking
knock
of
yourself out. I'm not going
looter shooter treadmill.
I'm pretty sure that game is still in the shrink wrap on my shelf. I still haven't.
Well, we were going to play it, but I don't think
We
that's
were.
ever going to happen. Jason Reitman confirms production of Ghostbusters Afterlife 2 has begun. I didn't know that they were making another one. I'm really fucking glad they are. He has confirmed that we're not staying in our rural habitat from the Ghostbusters Afterlife movie. So they're moving back to New York and back in a firehouse. So
Same one?
he didn't say, but I would have to assume, because why else would they move into any firehouse if it's not the firehouse?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's got to be. I mean, they'll move in there. The containment
They've got the
unit, the containment unit will still be downstairs, and
And then they've
somebody
got
will make
Egon.
a fire pole joke, and away we go.
Well, they've got the car. They've got the original car, and they'll be
Yeah.
parking the original car in the original garage. I think it's perfect.
Yeah.
So I'm pretty excited for that, actually. Even after ruining the story for.
I was about to say, I
Dan.
can't wait for you to spoil that one for us.
Yeah, I'm never living it down.
Ooh.
The next piece, the next piece of news, and the last one from me is actually for Dan. It's poked up. Lee Cronen's Evil Dead Rise is getting very, very positive initial reviews, and is being hailed as the goriest movie in the entire franchise.
Yeah, that makes me very happy.
I also read that it's a more serious movie, so it's not the piss take Bruce Campbell style.
Oh,
Even though Bruce is part of the project, obviously,
the
but
2015 Evil Dead
Reboot?
was
Yeah.
Reboot. Yeah. There's still debates whether it was reboots or whether it was just rebirth. It was dead serious, absolutely deadpan serious, and I mean they still made references to the original movies where Mia, the main character, loses her arm and has the chainsaw. She throws out some Bruce Campbell one-liners. No, she doesn't put it on. She just doesn't put it on the hand.
Okay.
But she does lose a hand, and she does use a chainsaw. So there's definite references back there, and it was dead serious. And the best thing about that movie, which is I hope they stick to in this one as well, is all of their effects were practical. So I guess they were probably supplemented by some CG, but all of the actual gore effects and dismemberments and body horror elements of the Evil Dead. It was all practical and
buckets and buckets of that super sticky fucking fake blood. I think you talked about that actually.
I have that. She fucking hated the final scene where it was just raining and she was cold and covered in that corn syrup blood shit the entire time. And the director loved it because it was just making her so pissed off in the last filming the final sequence.
Helped to sell the sequence.
Exactly, yeah. And that to me, that just sells it even more. And I really wish she was back. But, actually, is she? I don't know. No, I don't think she is. But I'm really looking forward to this. I just love where they've taken the franchise. I'd love to see Bruce back again, which he might be back in. Ed mentioned the animated series because he physically can't play the character anymore, but vocally he can play the character, which would be fucking great. And
he was hilarious in a there was a video of, I think they were doing some sort of press announcement, or there might have been a press screener. And Bruce Campbell and a bunch of the actors from the movie were on stage talking about it with the crowd. And someone in the crowd, and ironically, they were in like kind of like a theater, and he was right next to, he was at the very front on the second floor on the balcony, and he stood up in the middle of them talking and said, "This movie's fucking bullshit. This is a shit fucking movie." And everyone's kind of like, is he joking or is he serious? And then he just starts storming out of this auditorium, and the last thing you hear is Bruce Campbell from the front of the stage saying, "Get the fuck out of here, moron." Yeah. It was just, it's so perfect, Bruce.
Yeah, and he's actually really quippy when you see some of the interviews with him and people want to heckle him and things like that. He's really good. I love him. I think he's great.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, just the whole Evil Dead franchise across the board, what they did with the remake and this Evil Dead Rise from the first trailer looks great.
Yeah, cool. I'm going to hand over news to Tom, and I'm going to disappear for a sec to grab my second beer.
Panic, I've got to do a thing again. Oh no. What do we got? Oh yeah, Dan. Project Sirius from CDPR.
I didn't think this was a good idea in the first place, but
yeah,
you explain how.
So Project Sirius is from CD Projekt Red, is their multiplayer game, which they have set within the Witcher universe. They have announced, it came out today, it was in a financials, budget kind of call.
Financial review. Yep.
To their investors, and they're actually trying to write off the 15 million in assets that they've spent on it because they want to take it right back to the drawing board and basically start again.
Good move.
Yeah. So it's they want to formulate a new framework was the exact wording.
It sounds like corporate talk to me.
Yeah, which is basically just drawing board, start again, big X, new page. So they're doing that. So who knows, in 4 or 5 years we might get to play a Witcher multiplayer game. And there are a few games that I've played over the years that have tacked on a multiplayer element to it. Like I played through the Last of Us original multiplayer, the Firefly Journey. I remember playing it was the God of War Ascension multiplayer. And there are just certain games that just don't need it. And that is 100%. The Witcher is one of them. It is, the way they're talking about it is there will be a single player element to it. So there will be a story, there will be quests, all that kind of stuff, but then there will be some sort of multiplayer element to that as well.
I agree with you.
Yeah.
It just doesn't need a multiplayer game.
Not needed. Unnecessary.
Absolutely.
Please stop.
Absolutely unnecessary.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we'll keep an eye on that and see if it ever comes to fruition, or if this is just their way of going, well, we
done fucked up.
We fucked that one, so let's just try and write it off, and we'll say we're starting again and move on to something else.
Given recent happenings with both The Witcher intellectual property and Cyberpunk, I'm quite happy for CDPR to say we're not happy with something, so we scrapped it. That would have been the better choice for some of the other shit they have pumped out. Speaking of, do we really need it, Tom? Next news.
Oh, all right, segue master.
There's my segue.
Zack Snyder is, for those who aren't aware, is producing a new film with Netflix called Rebel Moon. It is said to be heavily influenced by Star Wars and the Kurosawa films before that.
Looks good.
Yeah,
The
it
snippets,
does.
the snippets that we've seen, it looks good.
Yeah, it does look good. And now he's talking about building this universe around it because that's, seems to
Everybody's
be
going to have a fucking universe.
Yeah, I mean, he's tried once with DC, so he's going to try again with his own property. But he is in the process of, and this came out. He was a guest on a podcast in the US, and it was he came out to said that he was building a massive RPG to go along with the new film as part of its kind of shared universe thing. He didn't release any details on a game studio that's attached or what platforms it's being released on. The Rebel Moon movie is due out in December on Netflix, but yeah, apparently Zack Snyder's been wanting to create an RPG
December.
for years. So this is his new little go-to project, and yeah, okay, we'll wait and see.
It's. I mean, we all know that's not going to roll out well. We just know. There was a TV show a little while ago that tried to do something kind of similar, and I mean, tie-in shit very rarely works anyway. But
it's hard enough getting a video game to convert successfully to TV or movie. They think they're going to do it the other way. They're having a laugh.
Yeah, so there was a show called Defiance. I think it was on.
Yeah, I know.
It was on Stars or Sci-Fi Channel or something like that. And what they were doing was they released the TV show, and then they had the MMO RPG. And what the players decided the direction the players decided to take the game was
that is
going
a bad
to
idea.
Influence season 2. So I don't know. Obviously, it all
they got
died
together
out.
and came up with the most inappropriate, fucked up shit.
I don't know. I don't know how it all played out. I just know that was.
It's certainly how it would play out if it happened today.
That was what they tried. They probably really limited the mechanics, so you couldn't get people out there just absolutely fucking around.
Yeah.
So, but it just I mean, okay, good on you, man.
Good luck with that, champ. Yeah, so there you go. He's.
I'm really looking forward to Rebel Moon. I'm really.
I am too.
Think we need a video game built around it.
No,
but I might be wrong. They could do something really interesting with an RPG. We still don't have a proper star-based RPG, in my opinion. Star Citizen and those Elite tried and haven't really delivered.
Well, yeah, and then there's what is it? Starfield is the Bethesda one that
Starfield,
is
No Man's Sky,
so.
yeah.
So
No Man's Sky was kind of like that. Yeah.
So
I still don't think anyone's really successfully done that.
This actually, Zack Snyder, I cut him out of our spotlight tonight because I actually thought I'd love to give Zack Snyder a run at a Star Wars movie, but I'd probably rather see him do his own IP than be tied into a world that was already created.
Yeah. Our listeners have no idea what the fuck you were just talking about in
No,
terms of
that's
what our
fine.
spotlight
They will
is.
later.
They will later. It's like a little
there's
teaser.
There's some fucking tidbits. Now you got to get to the 3.5 hour mark before you can tie that little.
Talking about
before everything comes to fruition.
But you know what? I saw your list and I thought, there aren't too many fucking directors I wouldn't have put in that little barrel. Anyway.
Yes.
I wouldn't have put in, I would like lots of movies from lots of directors in that space. We have some beer news for a change, since we're going to put the pints back in the pixels on pints.
What?
What?
Fuck. Don't quit your day job and become a Segway writer, because the first one was good, but the second one was horrible. Okay. Yes. There's been some movements in the Australian beer world recently, and it's a bit of bummer news. So there's been a couple of quite well known brewery brands have in the last couple of months gone into administration. After fallouts from COVID and all this kind of stuff. The first one that went in was Ballistic. They went into administration. 2 months ago, maybe a month ago.
Yeah.
Which is a shame because they made some cracker beers.
Yeah, they've recently come out and they've avoided liquidation. The brand still exists, so they've kind of narrowly dodged the bullet for now, what we can tell. And then another significant one was Tribe. So Tribe is the I guess the umbrella brand, and they looked after the Stockade brand, Mornington Peninsula. They had Wild, the E on the end, which was a gluten-free brand, and they also were recently were the Australian importer of PBR from the US.
Australian brewers, not importers.
They were importing, but now I guess they're brewing it here then.
Yeah, they started brewing it here 3 years ago, three pre-COVID.
Yeah,
just pre-COVID, because I had to brew some for them.
Oh, there you go. And they are also the owners of what is it, biggest in the Southern Hemisphere brewing facility, or just in Australia?
I think I don't know. It's independent. Independent contractors, biggest independent contractor facility.
Yeah, down in Goulburn, they've got this massive brewing facility.
We're still talking about Tribe, right?
Yes,
Yeah, Tribe.
But it was only like 2 weeks ago they announced they were going into administration, which is always a bit scary, and it does kind of go, oh, fuck, what's happening, you know?
Once it gets to that point, it can only go one of two ways.
Yeah, but as a result, the Stockade Barrel Room in Marrickville has closed. They had last drinks about a week ago. It's been a week and a half now. And fire sold everything that was in the brewery, or the tap room space, and we're used to, as someone who works in the beer scene in Marrickville, we're used to breweries popping up in that space, but this is the first time we've seen one shut down.
But is Stockade Brewing shutting down, or just the retail outlet?
Just I'm not sure. From what I can see, it's just the barrel room that's
front
shut
of house.
Yeah. So, but still, it's one off the map. So.
Yeah, well, who knows it as a brand? I mean, they did have a reasonable chunk of excise to pay to the ATO. They have had some interest sniffing around purchase. They did actually, pre this announcement last year, actually have some other breweries. I'm being a little candid about this because I can't remember what has been released to the public and what has been industry talk, so I don't want to throw any
guarded,
names
not
out there.
Candid. If you were being candid, you'd just be spilling the fucking beans.
Oh, okay, sorry, guarded. Then. So there was some people, some breweries, rather large breweries, that approached them for purchase last year, and
you're talking about Stockade?
No, Tribe.
Right. Okay. We went back to Tribe. Okay.
Well, Stockade's just a brand. Nobody.
So Tribe owns Stockade.
Yes. So Tribe is the parent. So Tribe is the parent company that owns. I think it's in.
See, us mere mortals that don't work in the brewing industry don't have the fucking spider web in our mind of who owns what.
That was the first thing I talked about with Tribe. I said I rattled off the brands they own.
Oh, okay. Well, sorry, I wasn't listening.
Well,
of our listeners, we weren't listening to Tom. Sorry, carry on.
That
was needlessly nasty. Sorry.
A brewery that can produce a ridiculous millions of liters a year. It's in the 20s to 30s millions of liters a year. It's massive. And they were approached for purchase, and they actually knocked back a purchase, and we're talking less than 12 months ago.
Yeah, right.
And so now that there's this has been announced, there's been some people sniffing around the facility itself to purchase. So we may not see a continuation of those brands, or they might those brands that fall under that Tribe banner may get sold off to external companies. I know there was another beer brand company that went into administration last year, and a wine company bought one brand. I just heard news today. Actually, I can say it. So ALM's bought the Dos Blocos and Lickpier brands out of the East Ninth liquidation. So there is those other players within the liquor area that will look at snatching up some of these brands that have an established name.
That's if they go into liquidation as opposed to administration. So.
Well, they'll be selling off assets as quick as they can to
Well, no. So the first thing they're going to do under administration is try and look for ways to rescue the company while still paying the creditors. If they can't do that, then they'll go into liquidation, where really, because an administration's core outcome is to get rid of that debt.
Yeah.
So if they'll try and keep the company solvent and clear the debt. If they can't, then at the very least, they'll try and clear the debt. And that's when they go into liquidation and start flogging assets.
Yeah, so that'll happen soon.
But they did release, so in the announcement, they did have some early sketches, like a straw man of some plans to stay afloat. So whether or not that comes to fruition, and it wasn't by the administrator that made that announcement either.
Yeah.
It was about
it was
the owners.
It was the owners. Yeah.
So it's always going to be an optimistic perspective.
Yeah.
Which is a shame because I remember the Mountie County episode of the Mountie County. Sorry, the Mountie episode we did back when we were on Bounty Hunter Brewing at
Uncle Hops.
Uncle Hops. It was our very first Uncle Hops episode. And it's the first time Tom was on the podcast, and we had the boys come in and 8-bit shirts and all the rest of it. So it'd be real shame to see Stockade go. Yeah, as a result of Tribe.
There is and then fresh off the press was I forgot to add this in, but Lion Nathan, the massive Tui's brewery owner company, have closed their Tiny Mountain. Well, they're closing their Tiny Mountain brewing up in Cairns.
Yeah,
they announced today.
Yeah.
So it looks like they're going to they're looking to cut off a few of their craft kind of arms and just focus on what they've got.
Seems to be northern Queensland is copping a little bit of that with some craft bars closing and some small brew pubs and that being cut off as well. It's such a long way, and I think COVID and inflation has really hurt them.
Not a good time to be a small business,
and in a remote part of the country.
Yeah, and unfortunately, recession in Australia is almost a self-fulfilling prophecy. As soon as the media starts talking about it, people stop spending money, which drives us into recession. Yeah,
goddamn media! If they'd shut their bloody traps for an extra 6 to 12 months.
Yeah, but you know who makes money? Who makes money out of it?
Yeah.
The fucking newspaper outlets selling fear. They're the only ones that make money out of it.
Fear
Anyway,
will keep the smaller systems in line. Fear of this battle station.
Shall we move out of news and talk about our second beers? I'm just conscious of time. You're just a fucking an encyclopedia of random movie quotes, Tom.
I was just about to say, don't be too proud of this technological terror you've created.
The ability to destroy a planet is nothing compared to the power of the dark side. Speaking of dark side, I'm having deliciousness. I have moved on from my wit beer because I decided to make a good choice today myself. And I am drinking the 5-barrel brewing, which I don't think we've had on the podcast before.
We have not.
No, from
Navigator Red IPA. The best thing about this is it's that papery label. Yes.
That textured.
Oh.
Yeah.
I don't leak Navigator, you do. There's my quote for the day.
There we go. We're all getting into it. These guys are from Wollongong. The beer is 6.5% Peter.
Smells like fish.
No, it smells like caramel and toffee and tastes like delicious. Yeah, it is. It's not too heavy a red IPA. It's not like that really, really caramelly toffee flavor. There's definitely notes of that there. It's still got a nice little pleasant hop characteristic coming through. This is great that I can still do this. I did have COVID last week and I didn't lose my taste at all, which is fantastic. But yeah, it's
lucky boy.
It's for 6.5%. It's also hidden the booze quite well. It's quite smooth, quite balanced. This is really good. I think this is actually potentially one of the first 5-barrel beers I've ever had too. I really like the design of the can too. I think that's nice. It's cool. Little
nice
compass.
And clean. Is it a sextant?
Sextant.
It is a sextant.
Yep.
Yeah, with just it's got I don't know if you can see it there, but it's got like that splash of red behind it.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's again just papery, textured, very nice.
It's really interesting to you guys still give me shit about my cow hoof videos, but I also went down a rabbit hole of learning how to use a sextant on YouTube about 3 months ago. It's actually a fascinating subject.
Just
really
in case
is.
you get lost at sea with only a sextant in your pocket.
Well, no, I was learning how to.
As you do.
I was learning how to use a compass to navigate with or without a map, and all the various resectioning, and trisectoring, and all the other stuff you can do with a compass. And that led naturally into sextant videos being offered to me, and that's the way my brain works. It's like I've got ADD, but I don't. It just goes down rabbit holes, and look, that's interesting. I never land where I start. You
Whereas
I've
I just got that famous
What
pivot
you're
sense of
saying?
direction, and I can just you plop me in a field, I'll be able to find my way home. It's just like always follow your nose. Yeah, I'm going to give that a good solid 4.5. That's delicious. I'm gonna
nice.
Hunt down some more of that particular beer. It is starting to get cooler. It means reds are coming back, which is great. Yeah, I'll definitely check out the rest of their range too. It's cool. It's nice and lined up as well. Just a few little bubbles though. But
Yeah,
adds to the
I saw him.
Adds to the texture.
My label application brain started to twitch when I saw those on the camera.
And you say it's cooling down. All I've been thinking lately, the last week, with how hot it got last week, was just Balrog's whip. Like, you think summer's gone and just this whip comes out of nowhere from the depths to just wrap around your leg at the last minute. Fucking hottest day we've had in 2 years was in March. Fucking
Atrocious. It's horrible.
in autumn. Anyway,
On a Sunday. Was it Sunday or Saturday was the hottest day?
I don't recall. No, I think it wasn't it Friday? Anyway.
Yeah, it was
I
midweek.
thought it was.
Yeah, midweek.
Yeah, I thought it was Friday.
Anyway, what
I
are
was-
you fuckers drinking?
Peter?
Fucking number one. I am drinking. We talked about this beer, actually. We just didn't try it. This is Hop Nation Brewing's Experiment 102, which I'm sure is that experimental hop that we were talking about that is 10 times more powerful than Cryo.
NZH102, wasn't it? Yeah, I think so.
The can's
Got a
pretty...
big brain on this guy.
The can's pretty cool. It's got an atomic model on it in green, in the traditional Hop Nation green. But there's lots of equations on a chalkboard in the background, which I think is a really cool way of linking back to the experimental nature of the hop. It's really, really, really hop forward, as you would expect.
Can you just hold that up to the camera again, Pete, and just rotate it?
I can.
Rotate it one way, and I'll tell you if it's the right way or not.
You looking for that logo?
Can you just try and focus it just where your thumb is? Your ring finger. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Cool. I just thought it might have been a sugar molecule, that the one at the top there. It might not be. It might be too large to be a sugar molecule.
Definitely a carbohydrate, for
glucose.
sure.
It could be a glucose molecule then. It looked familiar from fucking uni days, but
so it's very dank, very, very, very dank. It's got quite a dry finish. I mean, it is a New Zealand IPA, but it's very, very dry. And it's very bitter, pithy. Got a lot of that aftertaste of chewing on almost lemon rind. It's not. It's still got that orange character, but it's almost lemon rind strength, if that makes sense. It's like a DDH add a baby with a fucking Nipah, basically. Yeah,
cool.
That's not a bad thing.
Yeah, it's not too bad. I mean, I'm not a big fan of huge hoppy beers, but I wanted something that was a bit different. I'm going to give that a 4.25. Pretty happy with that.
Excellent.
Yes. Daniel?
Mr. Dan?
I will also start with my rating. I will also do a 4.25. Actually, no, we might go 4.75 for this one. It's a pretty fucking good beer. The Lost Palms Brewing from Queensland. Quick thinking. It's a 6.7% hazy IPA with Riwaka, Citra, and Cascade. It's a metallic label, so I don't know if I'm going to be able to get a shot of that on there. But there's also some brain twitching wrinkles in the label there too. But
I like how quiet you went when you put your arm in front of your mic. It was interesting to see just how well that shotgun mic works.
Yeah, okay.
Anyway.
You must have been a nightmare when you were like contact labeling your books growing up. If the bubbles are annoying you that much now.
I was the one
Just
that
get the metal ruler and just push out all the bubbles, man.
Well, you do it, but then it creates a ridge in the contact. So then you've got to get a razor blade and slice.
The answer was yes, Tom. He was. Fucking Nate down.
Yes.
The explanation that no one in the world needed.
It's worth adding in. Super hazy.
Is it
super
pinkish?
Super thick.
It looked at. Dan's white balance is all kinds of fucked up. I need to come over to his house and set up some sort of lighting rig. Because he either looks like Casper the Ghost or someone from the dark side.
Because my
looks
room
like
just fucked the
guava.
right off, all right?
I know
It
he's
looks
a
like
ginger,
guava.
but
Yeah.
he shouldn't be that white on the screen.
It does. I don't know whether it is a reflection of something that's in here. The biggest reflection of anything pinky purpley is Pete's lights coming off the back of his shelves there.
My porn star lights.
Just Pete, for sake of experimentation, just turn your camera off for a sec.
Nah,
Is
it's
it
still
still there?
I could have told you it wasn't going to be me. Your whole room has a yellow pink cast to it at the moment.
Well, because I had to turn this to yellow because
I'm
you were
not
bitching at me
complaining.
that everything was Casper.
Because you look like Casper.
Yeah, well, you know what?
It was a
Anyway,
question of
moving on to what the beer is like.
No, let's get caught up in the fucking lighting.
It's fantastic. It's got a really strong Ruwaka New Zealand hop character. The Citra,
It's like New Zealand, so it's lanolin oil.
the Citra sits there in the background. Yeah, little diesely, but on that really pleasant diesely side of it, really. You know why it is pinky light? It's this LED up here.
You couldn't
looking
leave
at
it
it now.
alone.
No.
You see those fucking cogs turning.
Yeah. The Citra New Zealand character works really well, and I guess the Cascade probably just sits there in the background, just around the palette out with some sort of orange. It does have a very orange, juicy character to it at the end, but it's not imposing. And the Ruwaka and the Citra really take the limelight, and it really dry, really dry. So really low residual sugar in there, which is quite nice.
Looking at photos of the beer on Untapped, and it's as thick as it looks on screen, Tom, but it is just a standard NEPA colouring.
Yeah,
out of 5? Dan, you said
No,
4.75, didn't you?
Still a little bit. Anyway, yeah, we'll go with a 4.75.
Yeah, cool. I'm a bit jealous of you guys. The way you describe beers, I've gotten past that whole it's easy to drink stage, and I'm a little bit more descriptive. But listening to Dan describe a beer, it's like, this hop that no one else knows is even in the beer. It rounds out the palate from these two hops, and I know it comes from 20 years of being in the fucking brewing industry, but
13, but yeah.
Okay, whatever.
But yeah, actually, one stumped me the other day. I had the hazy pale ale collaboration between Filter and Seeker. So we were a part of it for Esker. We did I
was trying to find some of it actually.
An Imperial IPA. We've got some in the cool room at the brewery. I can get you some. We did a double West Coast IPA with them, and then a couple others did. Well, several others. I think there was 8 or something in the end. And Filter did the hazy IPA, hazy of some sort with them. And I had that the other night, and it stumped me. I knew there was hop character in there that I didn't know the hop, so I could call that much and say I have very little to no knowledge of the hops that are in there. So we found out because we obviously know the guys, and it was Strata and Idaho 7. That there was Citra, Strata, and Idaho 7 in it, which I've have very limited exposure to Idaho 7 and basically no exposure.
It's just really interesting, man. I mean, for some reason, again, another video that randomly got thrown at me on YouTube was the International Sommelier Awards, the finalists for 2023 popped up on a video.
They're freaks, though. They're freaks of nature.
To watch these guys just fucking spin these 5 wines are poured, and they just take a sip, and he's like, definitely from this region. The grapes are growing on a north-facing fucking hill. This estate last year. And they just go through all 5, and it's just nail it.
Yeah.
But Dan's like, yeah, I can taste a hint of Chinook in the back palate. Yep, no, definitely Idaho 7 in the foreground. Yeah, no, it's interesting to watch. It's cool. Anyway, yes, I also another thought that just something that you said there, Dan. If I ever had a brewery in Perth and I did a collab with a brewery in California, I would call that a double West Coast.
Yeah.
Anyway. I think we're up to some mini reviews. We're going to run late on this episode. I can feel it in my bones. Dan, wanted to...
I thought we were doing all right for time. No?
Yeah, we're not doing terribly, but we're an hour in and we're only halfway through the first segment. Who gives
usually
a
happens.
fuck?
Usually happens.
We started early. Spotlight, Dan?
Yeah, I'm just going to run through these real quick. So I was terribly ill a week ago. Didn't do fuck all for 3 or 4 days.
Some violin music in the background.
Other than give Peter a big fuck you.
And that's how I ended up sick, ladies and gentlemen.
So I didn't do anything
I did
for
want to watch
quite
this
a few
as well,
days.
yeah.
So
I've just looked up what it is, yeah.
Eventually, when I got out of my stupor, decided I wanted to watch something that was different, but I didn't have to think too much. I'd had this vampire movie on my Netflix watch list for a little while because I love vampire movies. I love vampire books. I love vampire games, everything like this. And this one sort of spoke to me from the trailer. It looked a little trashy, and it has Megan Fox in it, so it was a little trashy. But she's only in it for a very short time. But it really reminded me of Vampire the Masquerade once I got into it. The movie's called Night Teeth. It's got nobody of huge note in it. It's got one of the guys from Game of Thrones, and I could look up a cast, but I can't be bothered at the moment because I've got to go and let my dog out to wee in about 2 seconds. It was very Vampire the Masquerade. So it's set in one night. A human ends up driving a hire car with 2 female vampires in it that need to get to 5 different parties by the morning. They're going around doing jobs as they go through to these parties, but each party was different, and everyone every group of vampires you encountered was different. So that's why it reminded me so much of Kindred and Vampire the Masquerade, where they go to the mansion in the first one and there's a whole bunch of flashy cars out the front, and it's very Ventrue-like. They go to the nightclub and it's very Toreador. They end up at one of the last stops is just at this little kind of diner area, and the guy's just a complete whack job, and he's just like the Malkavians from Vampire the Masquerade. So I thought it was really fun. It was actually really well acted. It was really well shot for just a Netflix movie. I thought it was fun, and you know what? I'd probably watch it again. I liked it that much. It's not a hard thinking. It's just if vampires lived in our society today and had made deals with humans to keep the peace for a couple of 100 years since almost sort of gangster prohibition times in the 20s. So it was just good fun.
It's a pretty common backstory for a vampire movie too, though.
Yeah, it was nothing out of the ordinary, but it just reminded me so much of Vampire the Masquerade. Which is why I loved it.
When you were describing it, the random adventures, they've got to drive around to 5 different parties and they kind of have random adventures. All I could think of was the old school 90s movie Go.
Yeah. Kind of a little, yeah.
Just fucking bought some ecstasy, some other guys sold some ecstasy, and just the fucking weird adventures that happen in the background.
And that's kind of what it's like, yeah. But
that's cool.
Blood is the drug. I've got to go. I've got to go let India out.
Blood is the drug I'm thinking of. No, okay,
no.
They should really do a cover of that as the credits. I'm just saying, who directed it? Let me give them a call. Adam Randall. Expect a phone call. Well, do you want to jump in because?
Yeah, sure. I can.
Well, because Dan's seen Bullet Train as well, so I think we can talk about it more.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. All right. I wasn't quite prepared for that. That's all right. I just wanted to
Curveball.
kind of the last word on The Last of Us, which I did a fairly decent review of last episode. I have to say, I found the final episode. This is quite controversial because it's gotten rave reviews. The final episode, the kind of the end cap of the series, everyone's saying it's the best thing that's ever come out on TV. And I've got to say, overall, brilliant fucking series. It hasn't really diminished my view of the series as a whole, but I was disappointed with the final episode.
Oh.
It is
because I've seen nothing but tens all round.
Rave reviews, right? And I might be completely alone in my opinion on it. I just found the final sequence that leads to the emotional climax. So I'm trying to keep it spoiler free. I know the game's been out forever, but still.
Does it change from the game?
No,
I guess
no. In fact, it is a very true to video game adaptation in terms of storyline. But whereas the final sequence in the lead up to the emotional climax in the video game is 10 to 15 straight minutes of tension of I'm used to moving cover to cover. There's a shitload of enemies I have to defeat here, but I don't have time.
Yeah. And
it really does push you to really walk that fine line between sufficient cover to survive, particularly on harder difficulties in the game. Moving cover to cover, you don't have time to sit back and map out all of the patrol patterns because you have this constant time pressure to move forward to get to your goal. Whereas in the TV show, it's basically a 60-second silent sequence. It's a montage. And to me, it got to the finish line way too soon.
Right, okay. Yeah.
So I get the device they used was a cool device, it's that silent tension.
Was it like the shock, like the post like the grenade, like the ringing in the ears kind of silence, or was it just straight silence?
I do you know what? I don't even recall if it was perfect silence or if it was no primary track and just maybe some sound effects. It wasn't quite what you're talking, like the shell shock, style,
where everything's like really muffled and it's like it's almost silent but not silent.
I think it probably was that. I don't even recall. It was just so shocking to me that they would take a 10-15 minute most tense sequence in the entire video game and turn it into a 60-second montage. Was just super disappointing to me.
Okay, that's fair.
Having said that, still, it is easily the best adaptation of a video game to TV ever. But interestingly, I asked the lads of Pixels and Pints, the lads. I specifically wanted to ask the guys who had been watching the TV show but hadn't played the video game what they thought, because I think they've got a different perspective than we would.
Definitely, yeah.
So the questions I asked them: what did you think of the pacing? Did you ever feel it was too slow or too rushed? Would you have wanted more episodes to tell the same amount of story or less? Did anything not make sense, plot-wise, motivations of various characters, etc.? And could you empathize with both Joel and Ellie? Did you hate them? Did you love them?
Question, before your results are revealed.
Yep.
Were they asked separately or in the same chat?
They're asked in the same chat. I do appreciate that might have tainted the answers for subsequent.
For anyone who doesn't know, my partner is a researcher, and these are things that come into my brain now because of listening to her talk about.
And look, confirmation bias is prevalent. No doubt, or survivor's bias, depending on which book you read as to what you call it. And my final question was: do you feel like the infected were enough of a clear and present danger, propelling the story forward? Was it more about Joel taking Ellie to the Fireflies to save the world? And the answers came back. Ed loved it. It was definitely one of those shows when I don't know if I should read it all verbatim because they actually gave me really detailed responses. Ed loved the show all the way through. So much so that halfway through the TV series, he bought the video game.
Attaboy, Ed.
Yeah. For the specific questions, he thinks an extra 3 episodes would have been good, so pacing was about right, but not quite. Plot holes and character motivations, more could have been done for me with Tommy and Marlene. The Joel and Ellie chemistry was perfect, worked great. And for me, they had 3 options I could have taken of what was the main threat. 1, the infected being the main threat. 2, the non-infected being the main threat. 3, 50-50 approach. And I don't think option 3 would have worked. So that was what he said. Ed and Suey loved the pacing. He still hates Bella. Ellie, which is Bella. Yeah. Suey didn't have a lot of good things to say. Didn't like the series overall. Didn't like the changes they made. He didn't hate the series, but though for sure could have always had more episodes of Joel and Ellie dodging the threat of the infected. Should have been more. Didn't like the Bill and Frank filler episode. Great story to tell, but it wasn't required. The game definitely did not feel like it had that kind of relationship between them. I've got to disagree. And I've seen this come up from Suey and a whole bunch of people online that they played the game and never picked up that Bill and Frank were gay lovers. I'm sorry, but if you actually take the time to read the subtext and the pick up the notes and read the notes and pick up on the emotional cues of Bill when he finds Frank dead in the game, he's absolutely his lover. It's so fucking obvious.
Yeah, but Suey doesn't read in-game lore.
Yeah,
he
true.
stated that. That was like his poster statement.
Well,
like
and the funniest
if he was
part
running
was-
a campaign for the election, he'd be like, I don't read in-game lore. This is what I stand for in this election.
In fact, his very next line in his response is, in fact, I distinctly remember Bill saying, fuck you to Frank's hanging corpse. Well, yeah, because it was a fuck you. You died after leaving me. Anyway.
This is going to come up later too in Are You Winning, Son?
Yeah, okay. Along with the story of the woman leading the woman leading the raiders that were chasing Henry. So basically, he didn't like any of the changes. I won't read it all verbatim because it's quite long. Ben said that he didn't feel rushed. Everything made sense. Would have liked to have seen more, but or have the first game covered by more than just one season. They really empathized with Joel in the last episode. The whole sacrifice of few to save many is a trope that comes up all the time. It's good to see how kind of flipped and seeing how they bonded over the season. And not really was his answer to the infection threat. The only real episode where they had an impact was the Clickers episode. So he kind of agreed with the comment that I made, was I didn't feel like the infected were enough of a plot device to drive it forward. You didn't see enough of them.
Which I think they've addressed because they've already come out and said season 2 is going to have a much bigger clicker threat.
Yes.
Threat, yeah.
The other thing they've also said is they're splitting the second game over 2 seasons, which is the argument I made that they should have done that with the first game.
Yeah.
There should have been 4 seasons total, but there's going to be 3.
It feels to me that they may have rushed through the first game to push their own agenda for the second.
What's their agenda for the second?
Well, I mean, there's a lot more diversity in the second than there was in the first. The first game was just about Joel and Ellie. The second game was split across multiple. You're the only one that's played it, so multiple stories across multiple areas. It just feels like that they're going, oh well, the first game was the big hit, but I mean, the second one's the one that can diversify will branch this story in multiple directions.
Yeah.
It feels to me like a bit of a franchise push that we're going to end up with a fucking spin-off of a spin-off of a spin-off if they want to introduce a character in the main show and then spin it off to another one. And
listen, if Neil Druckmann's as involved in that as he has been in this show, it's probably amazing content, to be blunt, to be frank. But I don't know. The agenda I could see them pushing is trying to align the end of season 3 or the end of the second story to the release of the video game for part 3, because we know that's coming.
They haven't confirmed it. They've said Naughty Dog. No, the news came out this week.
Yeah.
Naughty Dog have confirmed they're working on a new game, but they haven't confirmed that it's Last of Us 3.
Right.
And I thought they conclusively said it wasn't. It was a new IP.
No, there's been other things coming out saying, because they got separate teams within the studio, but they have said they're like very, very coy about it, but they're not confirming nor denying that they're working on Last of Us 3.
Right. Right.
But I think it was Neil came out in an interview and said he always intended for it to be a trilogy. It might have been one of the other writers who was involved, but that's the indication.
That's funny because I read an article today while I was researching for this podcast, and Neil Druckmann said that he actually wrote part 1, and he wasn't the only writer. He co-wrote part 1, not knowing if it was going to be successful, and that it has a definitive end and is a self-contained story, because I didn't know that they were going to get an opportunity to.
Oh, I mean, you can 100% leave one where it is, like.
Yeah, so I don't think it was true that he always intended it for it to be a trilogy.
I don't think it was Neil who said that in that interview.
Okay. Yeah, because I've got a very distinct memory of him saying he wrote it not knowing it was going to be successful and get a chance to continue the story. Anyway, look, it is the best video game translation to TV I've ever seen by far. It's not perfect. It is just so far better than everything else we've seen that it seems perfect to a lot of people, is my personal opinion.
Yeah, okay.
Well worth watching, though. Best thing I've seen on TV in a long time. Having said that, there is a fuckload of video game content coming to the screen soon. So I'm going to rattle off a list. Stop me if you want more information, because I actually have more info on all of them as to whether or not they've just confirmed or if they're in principal shooting. So movies, we've got BioShock, Borderlands, Death Stranding, Detective Pikachu 2, which I had to throw in there, Five Nights at Freddy's, Gran Turismo, Ghost of Tsushima, Metal Gear Solid, Minecraft, Sonic 3, and Super Mario Brothers. Now, in that list, Gran Turismo and Minecraft jump out as, what the fuck?
Hey man, they made a Need for Speed movie. I think they can make a Gran Turismo movie.
But Need for Speed's always had a sketchy fucking storyline. Gran Turismo is get your license and race cars.
No. Hold on. Gran Turismo is about the story of the guy who learnt to be a professional race driver through playing Gran Turismo.
Okay.
Is it?
It's not the story of the Gran Turismo game. It's the guy.
But I honestly think you could make a movie around that. If you look at the success of especially in almost like a not even mockumentary, but like fake documentary style.
Yeah.
If you look at the success of Drive to
Tetris
Survive
is not a
Netflix.
mockumentary. I guess it is a mockumentary, but it is very, very much based on the real story.
Yeah. You could 100% do that. That'd be fascinating and to watch.
I'm pretty sure Gran Turismo is about the young dude that played Gran Turismo so much that he knew how to drive a proper race car and ended up in the proper race scene.
We actually don't have long until it's released and we can find it. It's August 11th.
I'm looking at it on IMDb right now. The ultimate wish fulfillment tale of a teenage Gran Turismo player whose gaming skills won a series of Nissan competitions to become an actual professional racing car driver.
It's
directed by Neil Blomkamp.
Starring David Harbour, Orlando Bloom, and Damon.
Yeah, Neil Blomkamp, really?
Jamon Hansu.
Yeah, okay.
Or Hunsu. Ghost of Tsushima, I'm really looking forward to. Anyway, and then TV shows. We've got
doesn't need to be made.
Ghost of Tsushima.
Yep.
Doesn't.
I'm actually more excited by the BioShock movie.
We don't know much about that yet, though.
But the script is written by the guy who wrote Logan, 2049, and American Gods.
Yeah, cool.
Then you've got Borderlands, which is apparently
that's got Jack Black in it from memory.
It's got all-star cast.
Yeah.
I don't see Jack Black on my list. I've got Kate Blanchett, Kevin Hart, Jamie Lee Curtis, Ariana Greenblatt,
Kevin Hart.
Florian Munteau.
No, Jack Black's in it. He's Claptrap.
He's Claptrap. Of course he's Claptrap.
He's perfect for Claptrap. And I've never played a Borderlands game and know who that is. Apparently it's filmed live action, but will be modified to look
directed
like
by Ellie Roth. It's gonna be fucked up.
But apparently it's been modified to look like the video game. So cell shaded, even though it's live action.
Right.
That might be make or break, frankly. And then we've got a bunch of TV shows that are also based on video games. So we've got Arcane Season 2, Assassin's Creed, didn't need to be made. There's a Castlevania spin-off, Nocturne, Fallout, God of War.
Do you know if that Castlevania is in the anime style, Netflix anime style?
I'll
look it up.
It is anime style, yes.
Fuck yeah, because that animated Castlevania show is fantastic.
Following a new generation of the Belmonts set during the French Revolution. Fallout adaptation from Amazon Prime, which really could be amazing or it could be really fucking bad. I love the Fallout style of, it's 1950s brought into the future. I've always gotten shivers listening to the way that they start with their jazz music in every game. God of War, Halo Season 2, Horizon Zero Dawn, It Takes Two, Alan Wake, Division. Why? The Last of Us Season 2, Witcher Season 3, and then Splinter Cell. I didn't know they were making a Splinter Cell TV series.
Give us another fucking Splinter Cell game. Don't give us a goddamn TV show. Just give us another good Splinter Cell game.
I don't know.
I want to know how they're going to do a Metal Gear Solid
Splinter Cell
movie
game in the style of the Amazon Jack Ryan. I'd probably get around that.
It'll probably be a spin-off of Jack Ryan. It's all Tom Clancy.
It is all Tom Clancy.
It's all Tom
yeah.
Clancy. Yeah. It's just an assassin
Splinter Cell,
series,
The Hunt for Red
frankly.
October. It's just a mashup. It's just Tom Clancy's just
Fuck
throwing
it.
shit at the wall now.
Splinter Cell, The Hunt for Red October in the Wildlands.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's Tom Clancy's son owns all of his intellectual property now, I think. He certainly owned the IP for The Division. So he was the one that greenlit The Division, which they're turning into a TV series. Again, apparently Jake Gyllenhaal and Jessica Chastain will star in it in The Division.
How is that
It's a Netflix
interesting enough to
adaptation.
turn into a TV show?
Oh, come on, you were a little bit excited about the trailer before the game crushed our dreams and hopes.
I still
I think the game has promise. The only reason I didn't pick it up is because I was like, I'm not getting stuck into another Destiny style.
That's what
game.
it was, though. That's what ruined it. It didn't deliver on the promise at all.
Yeah.
I thought there was huge potential for it, and I did enjoy those times that we played it. It got old quick. It got old quicker than I would have liked.
Yeah, because as soon as you did all the missions once, and there were only like 15 missions, there was no point playing the game anymore.
Yeah.
It was just a no.
But it was fun. The three of us getting in there and trying to take on a boss and getting our butts kicked to us when we didn't work together and getting booted back and then going forward again.
But the other major disappointment we all had at the time was we went in there thinking there would be distinct roles that each person in the team would play, and when you get there, you realize enemies are just bullet sponges, and everybody's role is to put as many bullets in that sponge as possible. There wasn't nearly enough differentiation between classes in that game. I don't know if they fixed it in Division 2. What I've read over the years without doing any kind of direct research is that they didn't fix it. It was more of the same. Anyway, that's all I wanted to say on that. It was just The Last of Us final feedback, and then just how many video game IPs are coming to the screen is just incredible. I didn't realize it was that many.
Yeah.
Come up with an original idea, Hollywood.
But they don't need to be done. Yeah.
All we've got is DC Comics, Marvel Comics, and now we've got 50 fucking video games. Like, have we stopped coming up with new stories?
I'm still excited for when they finally bring out my Netflix Redwall series. Fucking pumped for that.
Your Netflix what series?
Redwall. It's a series of books that I read as a kid growing up, and it's English like woodland creatures who have like medieval battles and shit, and there's badgers with like giant battle axes. It's fucking sick.
I think you have mentioned that before.
Yeah, I got super excited when Netflix announced they were doing it. Those books, like, they got me through a couple of years of childhood. They're fantastic. Can you imagine a badger with a battle axe? Fuck yeah.
I did see in the latest they released 10 minutes of footage, and I started watching it and I went, actually, you know what? 10 minutes of footage is a lot. As an advertisement for the Dungeons and Dragons game movie, which is out next week.
10
31st.
minutes?
Yeah, 10 minutes.
How long is the film? You know?
Probably 3 hours. But they gave a nod to the original cartoon characters out of the D&D cartoon from the 80s. So they throw 3 different teams into a labyrinth for some sort of event that they don't explain, and one of the 3 teams is the originals.
Them. Yeah,
it's so
that's
fucking
cool.
I thought that was a really cool nod because it's still enjoyable for audiences that never got that, didn't grow up watching it, but it's cool for us. Bullet Train or In the Shadow of the Moon, fellas?
Either or. Hit Bullet Train, Tom.
Oh, what a fun fucking film.
Yeah, it was a fun film.
Oh, you've got to watch it, Pete. It was so
I'm
enjoyable.
definitely going to. I just haven't had a chance.
And nice to see, like, it kind of took Brad Pitt, like, his character kind of really reminded me of when he was like the like Ocean's 11, like that kind of a little too cocky, talking too much, but like quite a fun character for Brad Pitt to play that I don't think initially I would have thought would have suited his acting style, but I was enthralled by him. Like I was so keen for him to come back.
So just to break it down for those playing at home, Brad Pitt plays an assassin who has gone pacifist.
Right.
So he's
suffering from some sort of PTSD. He's constantly talking about his therapist. there's a quick scene at the start where it's like take the gun, and he chooses to leave the gun behind, kind of thing.
That was in the trailer too.
Yeah.
So hang on, let me ask: has he turned to pacifism, but is still trying to do his job, or is he trying to get out of the game?
No,
he's back in the game. So I think he's had a sabbatical.
A pacifist.
Yeah.
Yes.
Right. Okay.
When nobody else around him doing the job is a pacifist.
Yes. Got that part from the trailer too.
He basically plays a pacifist in a John Wick world.
Yeah. The trailer looked we talked about it. It looked like a lot of fun.
Oh yeah, I was so keen for it. It was just and then it came. It's part of Amazon Prime now. If you got that subscription, it's one.
I've seen it pop up. I just trying to get through Homeland before I lose interest again and have to start from scratch in 5 more years.
And just the supporting cast as well, just fantastic. Aaron Taylor Johnson and what's his name? The twins.
The twins.
They almost definitely steal the show off Brad Pitt in a lot of scenes. The constant references to Thomas the Tank Engine really hit me home. Like that was really a special moment for me. I
can't call him the Fat Controller anymore. That hurts my feelings.
Well, the thing with the twins is they're almost in the movie as long as Brad Pitt's in the movie. So they're
almost equal main characters.
When you talk about the twins, who are you talking about?
They're supporting cast, but him and Brad Pitt and the twins are basically the 3 main characters in the movie.
What twins are you talking about?
So it's Aaron Taylor Johnson, and I'm just remembering myself of the other actor's name.
Because whenever you just refer to characters as twins, all I think is the Matrix twins.
No.
It's
Aaron Taylor Johnson and then Brian Tyree Henry.
Right. Okay.
So when they call them
they're
twins,
adopted twins.
Yeah.
So
that's the thing. Everyone calls them twins and expects them to be, 2 white guys being Aaron Taylor Johnson. And it's like, but Brian Tyree Henry is a black man. Like, it's so it's just kind of like, it's this great little thing because you're like, twin, what? Oh, yeah, okay, cool. But then it works. They work it so well. The way they fire off each other is beautiful. It is really excellent acting. Like seeing Michael Shannon in there as well, I was kind of like, when he walked in, I was like, perfect, great. Yeah, because his face is hidden for so long. Then he walks in, you're just like, great. Absolutely. Weirdly made me want to watch Mortal Kombat at the end of it because of
the Japanese
Scorpion was in
it.
But it's just
fantastic.
Fun. It's
goddamn, I love him. He's when they do Ghost of Tsushima, he has to be in it. Like
100%. Yeah,
it's an absolute miss if they don't.
Yeah. The only thing that, and this might have been because we were watching it while we were sick, but like I needed to take we paused it for toilet breaks or whatever, but that really helped me because set in Japan and set in such a neon heavy like world, it really started to like bug my eyes. Like
it's like you palate fatigue for the eyeballs.
Yeah, really. I found that. Like I don't know if you found that at all, but it was just like I started getting a bit of eye strain. I was like, I'm glad that we had like a few little breaks.
But there's a lot of movement in that movie as well. Yeah. Like not just the fight scenes, but even when they're stopped and talking, like when Brad Pitt,
the silent fight,
the twins
the quiet car fight.
Yeah. But there's constant moving because the train's always moving. So there is always a movement through a window or a door, or it's like there's stuff always happening, and it's the film is constantly in motion. Not even if the characters in it are static.
Yeah,
if that makes sense. But then when the characters are in motion, like then it's like full on motion. It's John Wick on a little bit of speed just to get them going that little bit more on a bullet train. So I thought it was great. It really reminded me of Smoking Aces.
Yeah,
I love the original Smoking Aces. I thought it was a fun, clever movie, and it felt like Smoking Aces done better on a Japanese bullet train.
Yeah, see, okay. I actually found it because I watched the 2 days before that. I watched Wrath of Man, which is the latest, second last Guy Ritchie film. You guys have you guys seen that? You haven't seen that one?
I haven't seen Wrath of Man.
You've seen
fucking
it.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
Yes. In fact, it sent me sent me in a storm backwards in time where I watched every Guy Ritchie film since Lock, Stock.
See, this is the funny thing. I thought it was the most
You watched Layer Cake?
great film. I thought it was
No, I didn't.
It was
watch Layer Cake.
It was the least Guy Ritchie film out of the entire lot. I think it was I thought it was really dark.
Really?
It was really somber. It had none of those those little comedic beats in there that usually pepper through the seriousness of a Guy Ritchie film. And I actually thought The Bullet Train was a better Guy Ritchie film than Wrath of Man was.
That's
I
really
loved Wrath of
interesting,
Man, don't get
Tom.
me wrong. I really loved it, but I thought it was
I
thought it was actually a
Wrath of-
really, really mature, dark take. I found it to be quite dark and thoroughly enjoyable still. Same action beats, but I thought the whole underlying story was so somber and dark compared to the other.
It absolutely was,
yeah.
but it so I have an admission to make that we were talking about Guy Ritchie's The Covenant. Was it The Covenant we were talking about, or was the other one? No, it was The Covenant we mentioned. Which
Covenant's
we've got
one that hasn't come out, and then there's
correct, which we've got the new trailer for. So I think Dan. So it must have been two episodes ago we were talking about Guy Ritchie's The Covenant, and I said, why did you need to preface it with Guy Ritchie? Because it didn't connect that Guy Ritchie was a director, so that just makes me look like a fuckwit, but that's fine. And I'll cop it sweet, but I watched The Wrath of Man, and immediately I knew who Guy Ritchie was because it was so Lock, Stock, and Two Smoking Barrels. It was dark, it was gritty, it was horribly, horribly violent and fucked up in a really interesting and intellectual way.
Yeah,
and that's exactly what I got out of that film.
I find Lock, Stock, and Snatch and Rock and Roller. I remembered it this time. Look at me go.
Yeah.
Wrote my notes this time. I still find them. I think of them more as comedy than action films. This was,
I found Wrath of Man there was some comedic beats in that as well. Comedic in how fucked up it was.
Yeah,
not the fact that she's got the toy gun.
Not as many Snatch Snatch or.
I just think it's the more serious undertone of what's going on in the story that maybe made you think that, because the elements like the wife having the paperweight, making the comment about the paperweight, and then she leaves on the table as a paperweight, and then ends up fucking shooting somebody and saying, I'm going to put a fucking bullet between your eyes. And
that's The Gentleman.
Oh, is it The Gentleman I'm thinking of?
That's The Gentleman, yeah.
I am blending the movies. I'm serious when I say I went back and watched as many as I could.
So. Okay, well, this is an interesting thing for Dan. Dan, go watch Wrath of Man.
Yeah,
because you've seen a lot of them as well. But no, but The Gentleman was pure Guy Ritchie. It's and I actually think it might have been. I think the other thing that probably affected my view of it was it's set in LA. It's not set in the London Underground, and for some reason, the London Underground always comes with that kind of that Cockney humor element that comes with that, but LA doesn't. It's just that's a horrible place.
And they did bleed together for me. It's the fucking
you watched too many at once. They're just
I did. I really did. The Armor Guard vans is Wrath of Man.
Yes.
So now you can go back and watch Layer Cake now, Pete. So you got one more to go. Daniel Craig.
That is such a good film.
Daniel Craig in a Bond, not Bond role.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
I thoroughly enjoyed the Man from U.N.C.L.E. I'd never seen.
Oh, that's great too. Yeah, we watched.
It's
that
a fucking brilliant movie.
Yeah.
It's like it's almost career defining for what's his name from Witcher? Fucking
Cavill.
Okay, brain shut down now, guys. That's it. I'm out.
Brain stopped work. Need water.
And Armie Hammer, who was meant to play Batman or meant to play Superman in George Miller's Justice League.
Before he started eating people, but now he's back on the Hollywood A-list, so it's all good.
But wait, what?
Wasn't he accused of?
Yeah, he was. Yeah,
he was accused of asking.
He's had
put out a classified ad for cannibalism.
Yeah, there's been some very, very
weird shit
that Armie Hammer's been involved in, and a lot of abusive situations as well. It gets.
Oh, really?
Dark.
Oh, that's right.
Oh, no, there's some serious.
He was accused of domestic violence. That's right.
Oh, was he? Oh man, I liked The Lone Ranger as well.
I've actually never seen that one, but yeah.
You know what?
Not as bad as Ezra Miller. Just to be clear, he's not.
Fair.
Yeah. It's not that it excuses the behavior. That's probably the wrong thing to say, but there's a special place for peds. Anyway,
the Lone Ranger remake that had Armie Hammer and Johnny Depp.
Johnny Depp. Yeah.
It just it got really brushed under the rug. It just was.
I've never watched
Johnny Depp was a little miscast there as an American Native American, but I think Armie Hammer as the bumbling finding his place Lone Ranger. And then when the fucking Lone Ranger music finally kicks in about an hour and a half or 2 hours into the movie, like there was a little bit of me that went, you know what? Yeah, fuck, I like this.
I will say
I haven't seen
that Wrath of Man did give me a reappreciation of Scott Eastwood, Clint Eastwood's son. I think he's got a lot to give to not the broader spectrum of movies, but as like we've obviously had to retire Bruce Willis because he's got dementia and stuff, but like he could be the new.
He looks like Chris Evans.
Really?
Scott Eastwood, I think he's a great action star. But he also has that like really quiet calmness that he brings to those kind of like menacing roles as well.
Some fucking big boots to fill there.
Yeah,
they are some big boots. I dig him as well.
When your father plays literally an unnamed character, a very famous unnamed character, and then you need to go in and follow the man with no name. It's just how do you live up to that? How do you go in? I think
Scott Eastwood will probably get through because he's also handsome as fuck, and that's an understatement.
Look, his profile photo on IMDb, he looks a lot like Chris Evans in that. And he doesn't look like Chris Evans generally, but anyway. Shall we move on?
Did Dan have one more?
I just before we do a break, I just want to say, In the Shadow of the Moon, I can't really talk too much about this because it is a very spoiler-heavy movie if you talk too far in depth about it.
Yeah.
But it's a really clever time travel movie. So it's got the guy that's got the cybernetic arm in Logan. I don't know his name as an actor.
Boyd Holbrook.
Yeah, there you go. He's the main character. He's a cop. It's also got Dexter in it. I only know that. I haven't watched Dexter, but I know he played Dexter. But it's a really clever time travel crime mystery movie, and I found it a lot of fun. Like it's dark. It's got some dark themes to it all. Very relevant to. I can't talk about what the main throughput is and why it's relevant to today's society, because that will then spoil.
It's very meta by the sound of it.
It was made like 3-4 years ago now, at least, but still really relevant after the whole Donald Trump storming the Capitol. It really relevant after that, and the time.
What's it on?
It's on Netflix. It's a Netflix exclusive, and I loved it. It's another one of those ones where I'll go back and watch it again because I thought it was really clever. It was really well acted. It had the really good hit you where it matters in the end. Across a family wide story, the looking after his daughter, and he goes a bit loopy and follows these conspiracy theories, and as the daughter grows up, he grows estranged from the daughter, and she goes and lives with the uncle. But in the end, he finds out he's right because he wasn't crazy. He just followed the evidence as a good police officer, even though he was ostracized from society. And it all falls into a time travel story, and the great thing about it's one of those wonderful movies that talks about time travel where the beginning is the beginning for some people and the beginning is the end for some people. Yeah.
There was while you've been describing it, you're reminding me of another movie I just can't remember the name of, where they've got they use the briefcases for time travel, and it's a combination lock that sets the destination.
Bureau or whatever it is.
No, it wasn't the Adjustment Bureau.
The Adjustment Bureau, no. It
was the first thing I typed into IMDb. It's not that one. It's another one. It might have even been a Bruce Willis movie.
Yeah, right.
That wasn't 12 Monkeys.
12
anyway,
Monkeys, yeah.
No, that wasn't 12 Monkeys. Anytime I think of anyway, never mind. My brain's blank.
Predestination?
That might be
with Ethan Hawke.
Fucking amazing. Predestination.
That was it. That was what I was thinking of when
How
Dan
good?
was talking in terms
Time
of beginnings
travel
and ends.
briefcase into Google. That's what came
Oh,
up.
really? And Tom, have you seen Predestination?
It's one of the best time travel movies you'll watch.
No.
Oh man, it is amazing. It is a paradox on top of a paradox at this randomest time loop, and it's absolutely fantastic. If you haven't seen it, you really should.
And very like almost detective. It's not detective noir, but it is kind of that era. It's shot in that kind of era.
Yeah, right.
Yeah,
definitely. I'll give it a shot.
For somebody
2015
for an original story for somebody to have written like that. It's an absolutely stellar standout. It's amazing. It didn't get more coverage than what it did because it's incredible.
Has not even it doesn't ring any bells.
Yeah. I would recommend. It doesn't matter if you've been drinking before you watch it, but I'd recommend not being exhausted because you just will not follow it.
Oh,
if
you
you're
will
tired.
not follow it. Yeah, there's a lot to
process.
There's a lot to process. Yeah, there's not a lot to keep track of. There's a lot to process. That's right.
But it was another good example of what you were talking about, Dan, of timelines that aren't necessarily traveling in the same direction.
Yeah, they're non-linear timelines. Yeah,
like River Song and The Doctor.
Yeah.
Cool.
Definitely.
All right, I think we're going to take a break. So
yes.
we will be back in a moment.
Hey, hey.
We're back from our break, I think. Are we back from our break?
We're back from our break.
Should we start with our third beer? Have we all poured? Are we all?
I haven't poured.
We all sipping away?
I am.
Mr. Tomnath?
I'm going to talk about both my next beers now because they're a duo. They're a partnership. They're two of a three of a series. I think it was three.
And I'm very confused about mine.
So they're a thruple.
They could have been a thruple. They're West Coast IPAs done by Hawkers from Melbourne. It's the Sheer Terroir experimental series. And what it is they've done, I'm pretty sure there was three. They're single farm Citra dry hopped West Coast IPAs. And each can uses single farmed Citra from different farms in the US. So the two cans that I have, one is from the Yakima Valley in Washington, not Washington, DC. And then the other one is from the Willamette Valley in Oregon. So I'm going to try these back to back. I should have double checked. I think there was three in the series and there was a different farm.
There is three. You're sending me into a tizzy having to write the show notes. What was the second?
Well, no, I'll do them one by one, kind of.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So you're going to start with the Yakima Valley?
Yep. I wasn't, but I am now because you just said that.
No. You could.
No, correct. It's done.
Okay.
Our Overlord has decided what I drink. I actually needed someone to go pick one, Tom.
Right.
Or pick one for me. So I'm starting with the Yakima Valley. So both beers, the beers are all 6.5%. But yeah, it's kind of one of those experiments in does the hop flavor change from farm to farm? Now
so
I will make sure
same hop.
Same hop. So they've used Citra.
Yeah.
In a dry hopped West Coast IPA, and I'm going to. There's a lot of words on the back. So it's called sheer terroir. Terroir is a notion that flavor is defined by a sense of place. So this is an experiment with the goal to identify and highlight flavor variations that climate and soil can have on hops. We've split and dry hopped the same base beer with single lot Citra hops grown in 3 different prolific US hop regions. Washington's Yakima Valley produces the largest share of hops grown in the US. They said I should be probably, tropical, herbal, and stone fruit are characters to look for. And they actually tell you a lot about the farm on the thing as well.
Yeah, Tributary Hop Farms, Granger.
Yeah.
WA.
There we go.
Washington State.
So yes, that is my little experiment tonight. I've been saving these beers. Have been sitting in my fridge. I only had the 2 in the shop for some reason. Hawkers didn't send us all 3 because why would you?
That would only just make fucking sense.
Why would you do that? But yeah, there you go. It's poured. It's come with a little bit of haze to it. It's definitely got that nice.
Is it chill haze or protein?
I think I've definitely got a few little
Some floaties.
Some floaties. It looks like a pure hop matter as well. So a little bit of trub. So that's always nice. And I love that bitterness. Get it right in me, hook it straight to my veins. But yeah, it's not hazy. I wouldn't say it's hazy. It's come through a little thicker than you'd expect from your West Coast. Usually they're quite crystal clear. Oh yeah, it's Citra. That is Citra. There is a nice malt base there. It's a little light than I probably would have expected from looking at it. But it's that's the first initial hit is where I'm getting that herbal character coming through. It's not quite like, when sometimes you get herbal and it's like bad reminiscence of Jägermeister. This is like quite, it's definitely layered there. I'm not a whole heap of stone fruit coming through. It might come through later in. Definitely as I've gotten through, like as I pour the rest of the can into the glass now, it is thick down the bottom. It definitely coming through like it's settled in the can. So I'm going to flip the other can for now until I am ready to crack it, as all good Selman should do. Yeah, not getting heaps of the stone fruit. Definitely getting that herbal note. Really light tropical notes as well. But yeah, it's. I'm very interested to see what happens when I crack the second one and how similar or different it is. But yeah, that's my little experiment tonight.
Yeah, cool. Out of 5 as a standalone beer.
As a standalone beer, out of 5, and yeah, maybe I'll do that. I'll at the end I might do a rating of the series, I guess, like as an experimental series. It's a solid 4. It's a solid 4. Yeah.
Yeah, cool.
I think I would like a bit more of that like pronounced bitterness. Like that's what I kind of expect from a nice West Coast. And I'm not getting heaps of that. It's there, but I'm not getting as much as probably I would like. I don't know if it says doesn't say an IBU on it. Does not. But yeah.
Fair
and
enough.
The can's not lined up, so throw it in the bin. Dogs. Absolute dogs.
Dan, what are you drinking, mate?
So this is my opposite breakfast beer to yours, Pete. This is one of the things I can rarely get in Australia for breakfast
pumpkin pie
when we ever go out. No, it's a Bloody Mary. It's a Bloody Mary sour from Yullis Brews.
I looked at that can in the shop today and I threw up in my mouth.
Yeah, it's a lot going on the can.
It's got chili in it, so you would
do more than throw up
I think lactic shock.
Well, that too. But even the thought of a Bloody Mary beer, and I went, please cease to exist.
I was very surprised.
Color.
Well, it's not really. It's like it's turning up more redder on the screen than. Oh no,
Real
it doesn't
life.
help moving my hand. But it's
or your head.
It's fuck you. It's just an ambery. It's maybe got a little bit of a red tinge to it, but not a huge amount. It does say they put quite a bit of tomato juice in it on the can, but it's chili. It's a global revered cocktail in which we layered chili, hot sauce, and a huge amount of fresh tomato juice. Spicy yet balanced sour beer. And I would definitely say that it's definitely got that peppery, Tabasco-y spiciness to it. But I love a good Bloody Mary. A good. I'm actually
I used to make them every Sunday morning. That's all I do when I worked in Surrey Hills. Would just make Bloody Mary after fucking Bloody Mary, and Jesus Christ, the amount of little twiggy sticks and cheese-filled peppers, and then I had to stick my grimy little talons on to smash it in the glass so some hungover Surrey Hills bitch could finally get back off the fucking wagon.
I'm
Trauma?
actually
Nothing. What are you talking about?
Not at all. I'm actually more partial to a Bloody Maria than a Bloody Mary, but
also just drink soup. Just have hot soup. Why have cold soup?
Bloody Mary has vodka, and Maria has tequila.
Oh, okay.
And then you get a red snapper, which has gin.
Oh,
okay.
I didn't know that one.
I'd try a red snapper, but I'm not a big vodka drinker. I just don't do tomato juice. That's why I've never had a Bloody Mary.
And then if you go Canadian, you get clamato juice, which is clam tomato juice.
Yeah. Okay.
Yep.
Oh,
That's a bloody Caesar.
That's bloody Caesar. I'm gonna have to try that. I definitely am gonna have to try that.
The clam juice.
Yeah.
They can get clamato juice anyway. If you, probably a good place to try and get one would be like Surly's, the American Tavern in near Oxford Street. They definitely have clamato juice in there.
It's really good. It's really subtle in all those flavors. It's sour enough to be palatable for me. It's not some weak kettle sour that's done through a culture. It's got a good sourness to it, and all those spice characters, the peppers there, the tomatoes there, and it's really, really pleasant. I really enjoy it. I think it's not anything like I expected, but it's actually really enjoyable. Really enjoyable.
Nice.
I'll go 4 1/4.
4 1/4.
Is it? Do you know if it's using the Dolly base, or is it using a different sour base?
It would be using the Dolly base, yeah, I would imagine, which is a natural sour, natural kettle sour. Natural kettle sour. It's not really. It's a natural sour. It's done through natural lactobacillus from the outside of grains rather than using a culture.
Is it really 3.3%?
No,
this
says
low.
this says 4.5.
Okay, thank you. I'm glad I checked. Berliner Weiss base 4.5%.
Yep.
Cool.
Yeah, very pleasant. Very pleasant. Once again, not what I expected. Not what I had hoped for. I had actually hoped for that big tomato juicy sourness, but I can understand why that path wasn't taken. But really pleasant.
Yeah, cool.
Peter.
Yes, Peter's going to get pissed on this.
Well,
episode.
That's what happens when you don't read the cans.
This is the huge Kahuna from Batch Brewing. Is the big Kahuna's big brother. Coconut.
It's bigger than the big
Kahuna.
Kahuna.
Oh, yes.
It's double. Yeah. Big Kahuna's like 4.8. That's like 8.6 or something from him.
When he was talking about Kahuna,
that's pretty close.
I
haven't had that beer for a long time. Yeah.
So coconut and cocoa imperial brown ale at a pretty massive 8.7%. Was that Jasper? Is it?
Someone's parking out the front and he's letting them know that they're not welcome in our house.
It's my fucking parking spot. Yeah, fair enough. 8.7%. It is. It's pretty fucking massive. I'm thoroughly enjoying this because you get a hint of the booziness. I actually think it contributes to the beer. So it's traditional brown ale color, and it's exactly what it's. Yeah, exactly. It's brown. It's exactly what it does. Exactly what it says it will on the can. It's.
Brewer's
coconut.
nightmare to make that one. The amount of desiccated coconut they have to scrape out after making that one drives them fucking nuts.
Shit.
Yeah.
But it's the right kind of coconut flavoring in a brown ale, right? It's not overpowering. It's not too soft. It is really perfectly balanced against the chocolate. You do get just a touch of the roasty notes that you get out of the malt backbone. So it's not. I wouldn't quite call it coffee, but you do get just that hint of bitterness that you get out of those roasty notes, and you do get the boozy tap on the back of the throat. You know that you're drinking something that's high ABV, which I actually think is really contributing to the beer. I'm going to give that a 4.5. That's a really fucking solid beer. Yeah,
You're also getting it I will state that beer was released probably about 9 months ago, but it is one of those ones that just ages beautifully and gets better the longer you let it sit. And so now it would really be coming into its own. Yeah.
It's like a coconut rough with maybe half a coffee bean. Coffee bean. Just
fucking hate coconut roughs. Who ever thought
it is definitely a divisive statement.
Yeah, who thought the coconut rough was the good chocolate to make? Really,
coconut and chocolate. It is a pretty classic combination.
No, a Bounty is coconut and chocolate. A coconut rough is like fucking sawdust it's coconut flavored sawdust in a disc is what it is, with like 80% cacao chocolate It's like I had a neighbor.
I always felt it was that's not a wagon wheel chocolate that you eat. Like,
yeah.
I would 100%
100%
take a wagon wheel every day of the week over it.
Yeah, and I don't particularly like wagon wheels, but coconut rough, definitely take a wagon wheel over coconut rough. We had a neighbor back in the day that would used to walk down to the corner store in the local area where we both lived at one stage, Peter.
Mhm.
And he would bring a coconut rough back and he would give it to his Jack Russell every fucking Saturday morning. Like this is what he would do. Like
Jack Russells need to be fucking amped up on sugar.
Yeah, and he wondered why the little bugger had bloody brain damage because he'd give him a whole bunch of sugar and shit. And
you're not supposed to give dogs chocolate anyway.
Yeah, I know, but this was back before we knew about this. This was 20 years ago.
It was just piling some avocado on. Just fuck it, whatever.
Yeah.
Anyway, followed up with some grapes. Shall we move into some trailer trash?
Oh.
Yeah, grapes too far.
Oh.
Too far?
Trailer trash.
Trailer trash.
Trailer trash. So I've put up some trailers. You guys might want to spin through them because it's just came out of my random YouTube list.
Ghosted.
I sifted through the inappropriate shit. Yeah, Ghosted. Directed by Dexter Fletcher with Chris Evans, Ana de Armas, who's popping up everywhere lately, and Amy Sedaris. It's out 21st of April, so this time next month, 4 weeks. Have you guys?
It's an upcoming American romantic comedy action adventure film.
It's like I actually, and I'm the.
Nah, it's Apple TV. Fuck it, can't watch it. Bye bye.
It is Apple TV. It's like a reverse. It's a reverse on the gender stereotype roles in a movie. So she's the action star. She's actually a spy. So they have so what you gain from the trailer is Chris Evans and Ana de Armas go on one date in America, and then she ghosts him. And he thinks it'd be and sends her a bunch of fucking texts, text messages to follow up. She doesn't reply to them. He decides in this big grand gesture, because she said that she was heading to London for work, that he would turn up in London unannounced to find her. And it turns out, and then he's kidnapped by some bad guys, and turns out she's some sort of fucking super spy. So it just looks like a really fun movie. Like the trailer doesn't take itself at all seriously. It just looks like a fun movie.
It looks like just looking, I'm not watching the trailer, but looking at some of the imagery, it just looks like Chris Evans is just having some fun again. Like he's gone back to his early years pre MCU where he was in all those like Not Another Teen Movie and those kind of comedy movies.
What was the Netflix movie we saw recently with him in it?
Grey Man.
Grey Man. Thank you.
Yeah.
So he was a bad guy in that, but he was very clearly having fun making that movie, and he looks very similar in this.
I mean, look, his character, if you went on a date with Ana de Armas and then she didn't call you back, you'd definitely follow her to London.
I'd follow her to the fucking depths of hell just quietly.
Yeah, you can't fault him for that. He's only human.
Yep.
But she's just the extension of her character from the latest Bond movie. Is that what the go is there?
Yeah. She looks like a full blown, she's CIA. She does say that in the trailer. She looks like full blown
French CIA.
No. She says she's
Spanish,
CIA. She's American. I don't know where she's
French,
from. She's Cuban.
She's Cuban.
Born in Cuba.
Ah.
Yes. At the age of 14, she began her studies at the National Theatre.
Cuban and Spanish actress. There we go.
Just channeling my memory of her. Yes.
She was really underused in that Bond movie. It was absolutely
most of the female leads are.
But no.
No, and I'm not being sexist. I'm genuinely saying that too. There's some great actresses.
I understand that, and I completely agree. But it's like she appeared for one specific thing it wasn't even really one scene because it went on for about 20 minutes.
Yeah.
But then it was literally see you next time. Catch you later. And it was that's what it was. It was just a parting of ways like that. It was just there was no it was such a cutoff that it didn't even really feel strategic. It felt like a write-in later on. It was like, oh, okay, we need another character to slot into this thing.
This action sequence, yeah.
Anna de Armas is free. Why don't we just throw her name on the poster as well?
Fuck it, we'll throw her in for 20 minutes.
Yeah, she's free for a week. We'll get her in for filming for this part of this Bond movie, and then we'll ride her out in a catch you later salute across the room. Like it felt it.
But there's a lot in all the Daniel Craig. Sorry, I don't mean to cut you off, but I am agreeing with you. I've found that in all of the Daniel Craig movies now, all of the Daniel Craig James Bond movies, it feels like 2 or 3 different James Bond movies just get mashed together. It's like the chapter break is a whole different movie, and the female leads are disposable throughout from the very first Daniel Craig movie onwards.
Oh yeah, from Monica Bellucci in the first movie, she was literally in it for like 15 minutes.
Yeah, and even
I don't
even
think it was Monica Bellucci who was in Casino Royale, but I know exactly what you mean. Is that the
it
actress does look a lot like Monica Bellucci?
It wasn't her.
Not. Yeah, I don't think it is. Yeah,
I'm looking it up now.
Yeah.
But Eva Green, even when Eva Green's character Vesper dies, it felt like that was an end to the movie. There's just
basically
it's
is
really weirdly paced.
Yeah,
no, it's not. What are you talking about, Tom? The whole second half of the movie is him avenging the death of Vesper. She dies in the middle of the movie.
No, she doesn't.
No.
She does
in the fucking lift.
She dies in the prologue, Pete. Like you think the movie's over, and then she dies.
Quits the
10 minutes
service.
later.
They go to Venice. She goes to the bank.
She dies in Venice.
Yeah, which is the end of the film.
Which is the end of the movie.
Yeah,
and then he mourns her for the next 3 movies.
Yeah,
and still gets brought up in the very most recent one.
The end of the film is Venice, and then the movie cuts with
I'm going to give
him,
up.
him shooting Mr. White in the knee, and then the classic Bond theme plays. I've watched that movie far too many times. I can tell you that's exactly what happens. But yeah,
and
Venice is the end of the film.
Yeah, and the girl from Paycheck's in it, with the really bad fucking contact lenses from Paycheck. What's her name? I don't remember. It's going to bug me. Anyway.
Paycheck?
One of my all-time favorite movies.
We're stuck on the first trailer, and we're not even talking about the first trailer. We got sidetracked all the way through to fucking Bond movies. How did we manage that?
Milicevic was in Casino Royale. She's the blonde Russian-looking lady, because she is Russian.
Thank God for that.
Yeah, it would have been quite racist if
Heaven forbid.
not. Yeah. Anyway, okay, let's move the fuck on. Super Mario Brothers. I think we've all seen this trailer with Chris Pratt. It looks really fun.
Yeah, it's come a long way.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to this. That's out in 2 weeks.
April 5th, isn't it? From memory.
It's almost like it's in the show notes, but yes.
Is it? I actually didn't know that. It's not in the show notes. Yeah,
it is in the show notes.
Damn it is in the show notes. I didn't read them
all. Do we want to just skip that one? Or is there anything to say? I'm looking forward to it. I'm sure you guys are.
The illumination animation looks crisp as fuck.
It does. It really does. And I just love the really dark star with the star with the dark. I never played much Super Mario, so he'll have a name. I don't know the character's name.
The guys from Super Mario Galaxy.
But it's the star in the fucking cage, like in the jailed cage with the baby.
The
voice
morbid star. The morbid star
the most
bit, yeah.
Dark, fucked up shit. Yeah. I just connected with that character instantly. He's so fucking funny. Sweet
in a very innocent, childlike voice as well, which always adds to those morbid lines.
Sweet relief of death.
Yeah.
Yeah. Fucking great. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Mutant Mayhem. I didn't even know they were doing this film. It's a animated-ish film in the sense that it is CGI, but it's not. It's designed to look cel-shaded but stylistic, kind of like Into the Spider-Verse was.
Mm-hmm.
With all the graffiti in the background. It's not a cartoon anime style, and it's not live action. It's somewhere in between. But fucking starring Seth Rogen, Jackie Chan, and Paul Rudd. So I've got a big cast.
Giancarlo
Esposito is in it.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I only put faith
John
in it
Cena's in it. You won't be able to see him. He's invisible.
Because Seth Rogen's doing it. So I have faith in that. I really disliked the trailer.
Really?
Yeah,
Well, it was just a bit of fun. I think it's pitching to the younger audience to start with.
Yeah, and I mean that's
Definitely.
I think
We are
that's
several
probably
months
what
out.
that's what I disliked about it. I think if Seth Rogen's doing it, it should be a Seth
Aimed at our
Rogen
age.
style,
Yeah.
inappropriate jokes.
Yeah, but it's a
teenagers
Nickelodeon
being their
movie.
worst.
Like, you gotta remember that. That's
yeah, okay. No,
Is it Nickelodeon?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So it is going to be. It's going to be a PG movie then, I would presume.
It's almost like a blend of cell shading and watercolor.
I thought it was really interesting stylistically. It did remind me a lot of the first Spider-Man, Spider-Verse movie.
Yeah, definitely, yeah.
And all-star cast. Like you can't go wrong with those guys. But then, we're nostalgic. Forgiveness is divine, but never
Ice
pay full
Cube's
price
in
for
there?
late pizza.
Yeah,
Rose Byrne?
this
I
is
don't know who you're responding to there, Dan.
I'm calling this late pizza. So.
Yeah, cool. Shall we move on?
Yes.
I'm looking forward to that one. Sisu, you talked about this, Dan. I think you dropped this in one of our chats.
Yeah.
Looks hardcore.
Yeah. Tom obviously hasn't watched it, so he doesn't get my maniacal laugh. Just
Oh,
now.
no, I know exactly what you're talking about now. I just forgot the name of it. Yeah.
Yeah,
Scandinavian, what?
taking out the
Tarantino,
Nazis. I'm very much looking forward to this one.
I don't know why. I know exactly
Helander?
why. I just look at him and I just see Willem Dafoe, though.
Oh, really?
Jorma Tamila, who's the main guy. Like, especially in that the poster for it, which is like the black and white. I just see like bearded, angry.
I can
Willem
see Willem Dafoe. Yeah.
Yeah.
And don't forget, Willem Dafoe was in some hardcore Vietnam War era movies.
Yeah.
And
I'm pumped for this. This is gonna be fucking sick.
It's going to be great. Yeah.
it's going to be Inglourious Bastards.
Yeah.
But like fucking Viking style, basically.
Yeah, just over the top, unnecessarily violent. Yeah,
But even the trailer was just hilariously
the
over
throwing
the top.
of the mine. The throwing of the mine.
Yes. Like, yes. So for those who haven't seen the trailer, it's an ex-soldier discovers he's a gold miner.
He's a commando. I think that's probably important. Yeah.
Yeah, so he's a hardcore ex-soldier.
Yeah.
Discovers gold in the Lapland wilderness, tries to take the loot home, and Nazi soldiers, led by a brutal SS officer, basically happen upon him, decide to rob him, and pay the ultimate price. It's just gloriously violent.
Yeah, it's just a
And it's
Nazi
set like
revenge movie.
in the closing year of World War II as well. It's like 1944. So like like the Nazis are still kind of like riding high, but they know that they're not exactly outright winning anymore. The Blitzkrieg has come to a shuddering stop. And it's just then they meet this guy. And it was you fucking idiots.
It was perfectly timed for my watch through of Band of Brothers too. Fuck, I love that series.
Very excited for that one.
Yeah. The final movie trailer is The Covenant. Guy Ritchie's The Covenant with Jake Gyllenhaal, which I've spent Hillenhall. How did that happen? I was typing. Alexander Ludwig, Anthony Starr. That comes out 21st of April, just as we go into the Easter break, I believe. No,
after Easter.
No, Easter's the first weekend.
It's early this year.
Yeah,
6th or something.
Just before Anzac Day. Still definitely before Anzac Day. Looking forward to this one too, actually. I think we have talked about this, but...
No, this is the first I've ever heard of this film.
This episode, perhaps.
No, I'm telling you. This looks...
I'm down for
this kind
another
of goes
war
back to
film.
what I was just saying. This looks...
dark?
Yeah.
It looks dark, yes.
Yeah.
From what
Richie,
you can gather
okay,
from the...
mate? Do you need to talk?
From what you can gather from the trailer,
yeah,
they're in Afghanistan. Jake Gyllenhaal takes a nasty blow to the head, blacks out, and then when he comes to, he's back. It looks like he's back on US soil, but he's got a major gap in his memory, and he reconstructs that memory. And the interpreter, the Afghani interpreter, is some sort of fucking super action hero and does a bunch of amazing shit to save Jake Gyllenhaal, but he doesn't actually recall that at the start of the film. So he's kind of reconstructing his memory, and then he goes to rescue this interpreter. That's what you get from the trailer. Looks
It
really
says
cool,
here
though.
down on the IMDb page that after an ambush, Ahmed goes to Herculean lengths to save Kinley's life, Kinley being played by Jake Gyllenhaal. When Kinley learns that Ahmed and his family were not given safe passage to America as promised, he must repay his debt by returning to the war zone to retrieve them before the Taliban hunts them down first. So, like, that's a bit heavy. But
Yeah.
So it's also based on very recent events.
yeah, right.
What do you mean?
Well, the America only left Afghanistan 2 years ago, and
Yeah,
the
but
Taliban have taken control of it. So.
Yes, but they were there for a long fucking time, and there hasn't been hardcore conflict for a long fucking time.
Yeah, but if it's saying he's like after the Taliban takes control, it's set within the last 2 years.
Yeah, because the Taliban are really taking control of Afghanistan.
Yeah. Looks really good.
Yeah.
Oh, it's a Guy Ritchie film. Like you know, it's going to be good. Whether it's got his the trademark, if it's the trademark action mixed with comedy, or if it's if he's going down that slightly more serious route that he potentially has. But
he just does action well.
He does, yeah,
across the board. So yeah, be really good.
Yeah, very keen.
Yeah,
I think Jake Gyllenhaal's a brilliant actor. I'm a big fan of him.
Yes, he is. He's excellent. I totally agree with that. Trying to madly in the
Homelander's in it.
Oh, is that who it is? I saw him with the beard and that, and I'm like,
yeah, it's Anthony Starr. That's Homelander. Yeah.
Yep. What's happening, Pete? What's the next one? You seem stalled.
I am kind of stalled, but
what's
I don't
happened?
Know. We lost connectivity to the server. No, it was just something that occurred to me while we were looking at that. I mean, it's a movie based in Afghanistan. I've been watching, like I said before, just briefly, I've been watching Homeland, and I'm in the last season of Homeland. But something that occurred to me, there's an actor in some of the seasons of Homeland. I think the final season, but a few seasons before that as well. He kind of pops up and then he disappears. Is an actor named Naman Akar, and he plays the leader of the Taliban terrorist cell. Actually, he plays the leader of all of the Taliban. But it occurred to me while I've been watching it that every time I see him, he's a brilliant actor. He's a tall, imposing, excellent actor, but he always seems to play terrorists. Every time I see him, he's playing a terrorist. He's clearly like he has an Arabic look to him, and it made me wonder, doesn't it piss him off that every time he's cast, he's kind of typecast into a terrorist role? Like, surely that would grate your fucking bones down, man. He's a really good actor. He's been in other shit, but he's been in Aladdin. He's as Hakim. He was in 12 Strong. He was a terrorist in 12 Strong from memory. He's played in other stuff. Prison Break and those sorts of things. It just occurred to me because I have seen him in a lot of stuff recently. He always seems to play. You'll know him straight away. Naman Akar. I'll put it in the show notes.
Yeah,
just occurred to me like when you.
Oh yeah, that dude. Yep.
Yeah. When you he's cast based on what he looks like, and I kind of felt that he's Turkish, so he's Turkish or Persian, so he's not even truly an Arab. But anyway, let's move on, I guess. It just occurred to me looking at the Covenant, because it's got that Afghanistanian link. There's a couple of games trailers I thought were interesting. Star Wars Jedi Survivor. We've got some some storyline in-game footage that has come out recently in the latest trailer.
Yep.
Looks interesting. They almost look like a buddy system mechanic in it with your offsider. There was a female Jedi you were playing next to in quite a lot of the trailer scenes.
That's the Night Sister
from the first game.
Yeah, so get your shit together, Pete.
Freaking 9%. Yeah, but there's quite a lot.
Catch up, all right.
But it looked like in the latest trailer that you're playing she's there as a co-op partner quite a lot.
I mean, I imagine she'll be AI controlled, but yes, yeah, definitely.
Yeah, it'll be a whole
Get your shit
Nathan
together,
Drake,
Dan.
Uncharted.
Ooh,
Uncharted.
big dogs
Yeah,
on campus.
didn't work well enough, Pete. It'll be a whole Uncharted sort of thing where they're working with you side by side, the banter side of it, or Atreus from God of War.
But it's interesting they've added that mechanic because that wasn't present really in the first game.
No, you were very solo in
so
Jedi.
That's what I picked up out of the trailer. Is kind of
it seems to be a very.
It seems you'll have a
modern
few
thing.
AI companions actually.
Yeah, you got the dude, the scoundrel guy with the twin blasters.
Yep.
It's going to be interesting to see how that mechanic plays out as to whether or not you get to pick the companion. Like if you go to the ship as the hub, like you kind of did in the first game, and you get to pick the companion that comes out for the next mission, or if it's scripted in.
I'd say it'd be scripted.
Yeah.
I would assume so too, but they've got the potential to do some interesting shit there.
Yeah.
Once you unlock the companions, as you unlock the companions, you can select them.
I mean, it's interesting to see.
I don't know. Tell me if I'm just talking too drunk. I'll shut up.
Anyway, no, you're fine. No, but it's so like it's we've got a time jump, which is we never really have gotten in a Star Wars sequel game before,
which is interestingly shown by the growth of people's body hair.
I did notice he looked a bit.
Because Cal's got his little scruffy little
stubbly
beard,
fucking unbeard.
Yeah, but I think that's more.
doesn't suit
That's
him
more.
whatsoever.
No, it doesn't.
Yeah,
And he
I
does
thought-
actually look like he's aged as an actor as well, because he was quite young when he.
Yeah, the Night Sisters got a slightly longer bob, and the dude with the four arms, that's the captain. He's now got long hair that's like in plaits,
and he's got a
back.
cybernetic arm.
Oh,
Yeah, I was
I
gonna
didn't
say,
see the
he's
cybernetic arm.
Got a
He's
cybernetic
aged.
arm. And
Everyone else's hair's grown, and he's grown two little nubby arms.
And then the former Jedi Master has become some
and she
sort
has
of
no
sage,
hair.
and
she
she's
has no
shaved
hair.
all her head off.
It's
Oh,
all
yeah.
done by through people's bodily hair. Fuck, nailed it. It's like
Yeah, well, I mean,
it's
5 years
that's-
on, you might change your look slightly.
the video game formula.
Yeah.
Change everybody's body hair.
Pete's just stayed 5 years because he ruffled his hair there.
That's right. I judged it. Thank you. That was a
You
zhuzh.
zhuzhed it.
Oh,
Yeah.
don't do it too hard, Pete. You might not have
what you
a left.
Fucking big guns. Jesus Christ. Who woke up and shat in your cornflakes? Damn. Last movie trailer, video game trailer.
Goes right back to that Jim Jeffries thing we saw, Pete.
Oh, we done with Jedi Survivor. Okay, moving on.
No, we're not. Yeah, continue, Pete. Thomas.
I was going to say that the it's going to be an interesting way of showing it that we've talked about before with sequel games in the not setting you back to the bumbling idiot you were in the first game before you had any.
There's only really
powers.
been one game that did that. That was God of War.
Yes, but I think that's now going to be more of a trend because people have learnt from God of War.
I hope so because it was. So
I mean, it took
fucking
God of War.
refreshing.
It took God of War what 6 games to get there. So because the way they did it previously was just to send you to hell, and you got out of Hades, and you started back at square one.
Yeah, these
got
are your
a
chaos blades.
A massive sword driven through your gut and your all your godly powers taken away.
Yeah,
you were
15,
tricked into draining them into that
20
sword.
minutes
That's
into
true.
the game.
Yeah. So I'm curious to see how that kind of plays out. Interesting
Starters
now
are
that they're
badass
doubling
and-
down on the Claymore lightsaber kind of style that Kylo Ren
broadsword,
had.
yeah.
They're bringing in the hilt guard. I don't know if you saw any of the videos of Ewan McGregor when he was talking about. He was doing some Obi-Wan press just before the release of the series, and he was just like, "Yeah, but like we didn't need a hilt. You don't need a hilt for a lightsaber because if you're good enough, you won't need one. Obviously, this guy just doesn't know what he's doing." And he was slagging on it so hard. It was fucking fantastic. You can find it's just compilations of him going like, "Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't add a hilt to this because you don't need it if you're good enough." Like I was, I'm a sword master, so yeah, it's fine.
But it is interesting that they did that in Star Wars. So you can almost date where in the Star Wars chronology a particular piece of IP fits based on how the sword fighting plays out. Because the original, the OG trilogy was very much fencing.
Yes.
They went back to martial arts for the prequel trilogy.
Oh man, I watched some fucking sick deleted footage from Revenge of the Sith the other day of Anakin fighting Dooku and the original fight they had, where Anakin at one point lunges to him and then Dooku goes to slice his hand off and he lets go of the lightsaber and catches it. It's fucking sick. But Hayden Christensen does it. Hayden Christensen he was perfect in that move. It was beautiful. It was a work of art. I'll send you the link. It's
send it.
Chef's kiss. Absolute chef's kiss. Yeah.
And then for the final trilogy, we're almost back to broadswords and kind of Dark Ages combat.
Oh, so thrashing around. But I don't think
which
makes sense. Yeah.
I don't think George Lucas did that intentionally. I think it was a reverse justification that we did the trilogy and it was kind of fencing because that was the era that they were shooting out of. To make it sexy for the prequel trilogy, you had to have the James Wan style martial arts, fucking hardcore.
Well, it also makes sense because it's the height of the Jedi Order. You had people who were constantly using this weapon who would develop these kind of skills. Then you got, there's a handful of them scattered throughout the universe who would be able to go, yeah, Luke, this is how you use it. But,
yes,
Luke's a bit of a brawler style in the way he uses his lightsaber originally.
Scrapper.
But then when you get to the sequel trilogy, there's one dude left and it's Luke and he's fucked off and after his order's been built down. So of course the way that Rey and
goes
Kylo
back
kind
to
of
the
use
Dark
it
Ages, just mashing at each other.
I can use the big glowing stick and hit into things.
But you would almost argue that that Luke Skywalker's style of lightsaber fighting is heavily influenced by the only person he's ever learnt lightsaber fighting from, and that was an elder gentleman who
changed his lightsaber style throughout the years.
Yeah.
Let's not get into the 9 forms of lightsaber.
Yeah, we're way off topic. We're way off topic from the original trailer of Survivor.
Form 1.
It's not way off topic. They've said there's going to be many. There are going to be many forms in Jedi Survivor, including the broadsword, including the dual wield, not just as an extra little flurry.
Shoto.
Yeah. Oh, is it a Shoto? Is it?
No, he has 2, but kind of like the way that Ahsoka uses it originally, which was a Shoto kind of blade.
Shorter,
which was
shorter one.
very Japanese influence. But they had the same sort of thing in French fencing as well. They had the dagger that went with the rapier, which was a development of the original fencing. Anyway, we're way off topic. So fucking who read the book about the sword fighting? We all did. It's just different books.
Yeah.
The other thing that's interesting to see is that apparently Cal has developed Force Freeze that Kylo Ren uses. So I think that's going to be a fun gameplay mechanic to use. There's that scene in the trailer, one of the original trailers, where he Force Freezes the bolter blasts, and then he picks up the stormtrooper and just runs them through it. And it's like, you're a cruel
really
bastard,
dark.
but wow, well done.
It was really dark.
Yeah. It's also definitely I didn't pick up on it before the first game that it was going to be a Souls-esque kind of combat style game, in that it's a lot about timing and blocking, dodging, rolling away from these acts, but they're really leaning heavily into it this time, which you see in the bringing in of the crossguard saber, which is it's the heavy weapon, it's the two-handed sword, and it's the timing, and it's like if you time it right, it pays off because it's an almost instant kill.
But if you fuck it up, you leave yourself wide open.
Yeah, wide open. Yeah.
Which was always the issue with the bastard sword.
Yeah, but I mean that just goes back to any of those Souls-esque games. That's the way they play. You get more strength, more power. That's great. You can half health a boss in a couple of hits, but you fuck up that timing and you pay for it. Yeah. So yeah, I'm again super excited. I was a little disappointed that I forgot that they had delayed this game, and it was like the end of my COVID week. I was like, oh, I'm back to work. I'll go to work. I'll pick up Jedi Survivor on Friday. It's St. Paddy's Day. This is great. I'm gonna have some stouts at home and play Jedi Survivor. And then I was like, nope, Tom, you got to wait an extra month and a half. So get back into Far Cry. Yeah,
sucks to be you. Yeah,
sucks to be everyone.
Last trailer. A lot of trailers this episode. Was Aliens Dark Descent, which I don't know if you guys saw it. I hadn't heard anything. I didn't even know they were doing this game, but it popped up on, I think, Facebook of all things. It was Reddit linked. It was being advertised on Reddit.
Upcoming real-time strategy.
It's literally the the XCOM Enemy Unknown game it's the Aliens universe, but it's an XCOM game. It's that real
Jesus
time.
Christ, there's a lot of Aliens video games.
Yeah,
there is.
It's a real time tactics game where you can slow down time to issue orders to your troops in combat, but otherwise it's real time. Each of your Marines can suffer permadeath, so if they die, that's it, which is very XCOM. You have to kind of, if they died, you have to start again, recruit a newbie.
Top downish.
It's isometric. Yeah. I'm really looking forward to it. I fucking love the XCOM game, the XCOM rebuild. So
yeah,
I think we might have just lost Dan. I don't know if we've still got him on audio, but we've certainly lost him on video. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to that. It's got some nice Geiger-ish backgrounds and stuff in it. So that's
it looks great. I mean, it's definitely not. It's not a game I'll play. I'm not into those kind of style of games, but it looks like, especially for that isometric top down kind of view, it's doing like wonders in the screenshots of like kind of bringing that atmosphere that you get from the films.
Yeah, well, there's lots of sequences in the latest XCOM games that it was easy to see how someone sitting there could make that leap who owned the rights to the IP, because there's some similarly tense, atmospheric sequences through the XCOM games. So I'm not surprised. Yeah, I'm really looking forward to this one.
Yeah. No, I mean, not for me. It's probably something I won't play, but
sure.
It does look like I can see how that would really tick that box if you're looking for a new Aliens game to play.
Well, I'm pretty sure they are doing another XCOM game, so might fill that gap as well.
That Midnight Suns, wasn't that based on XCOM? Was that based on XCOM? No, maybe not. Maybe it was the XCOM developer was behind it. Something like that. It was a cardish. It was used cards. I don't know. Yeah, I've never played an XCOM game, so yeah, not the best person to talk.
Yeah, no, there's no cards in the XCOM video games, but I could see how Midnight Suns might link back to it. I guess, having not played it. Yeah. Anyway, we need to move into our fourth beers, but it's going to be really hard with Dan on here. There he is, perfectly timed. Dan is back.
I need to pee.
Could have fucking warned us, man. Jesus, you can't just disappear.
You were mid-conversation, so I let you continue the conversation without interrupting.
We did warn you. Tom, please tell us.
I took your braces off and I've put them on myself and then put you in your boat and sent you over the falls of Raros.
And I missed the first 3 fiery arrows, but I hit it with the 4th, so it's all good. Send you to Valhalla. I need to go and get my 4th beer. So do one of you guys want to carry the show while I'm gone?
Yeah, look, I'm going to crack and I'm going to talk while I crack it. So the second one I'm having here, and Peter's probably going to have to catch up, or I could probably add the notes in myself.
Just like write them yourself, you lazy git.
Didn't realize he was still here. Fuck. He does a really bad job of fucking off. Are you gone now? Assassin's Creed is the worst game series of all time. Got that, you prick.
You get that until he comes back and edit it.
Yeah, I know. It's going to be great. I can't wait for that message. Just fuck you, Tom. Yes, so I'm having the second of this series. So this is from the Willamette Valley in Oregon. Fuck, I really want to go there. I just love the idea. It was something I was watching the other day. It was a friend who lives in the US, and she put up a photo from walking out of her hotel room, and it was just mountain ranges, like just over the hill. And I was just like, God, I'd love that. I'd love to walk out and see that every morning. Yeah. I love mountains. I think they're fantastic.
But we live in a very, very, very flat country.
That is true.
We call them mountains, but they're not hills. They're not. They're hills.
They're hills. Yeah,
they're grassy knolls at best. Anyway, so the Willamette Valley, for those playing at home, is in central Oregon. Is sandwiched between the Cascade Mountains to the east and the Oregon Coast Range to the west. So in this one, they're saying look for notes of grass, melon, and berries. It pours almost identical in color, with that same amount of like little haziness in there. Haziness probably isn't the best word to use it. Like cloudiness. Let's use cloudiness
Cloudiness.
because I don't want to just
Yeah.
like people to think I'm drinking a hazy style beer.
Nipa. Which your Terroir?
Terroir, yeah, same. This is the Willamette Valley, Oregon.
Willamette. Thank you.
So yeah, same ABV of 6.5, same style, single farm citra dry hopped West Coast IPA. Yeah, look, it's got more of a piney bitterness nose that I'm getting from it.
I assume you left a little bit of the first one to compare.
Nope. I necked the shit out of it because it was delicious. This one has more of that pronounced bitterness.
Choice, but okay.
You're not my dad. Don't tell me what to do. This one, definitely more of that West Coasty bitterness coming straight through. Maybe that's because I inverted the can. Invert all your hazy cans in your fridge. That is your Solomon's advice there. It's it definitely doesn't have that herbal character, which is super interesting. Grassiness.
I'm just finding it super interesting that I guess it shouldn't be a surprise given this is very much wine territory conversation, but different soil, different
Oh no, there's definitely a different
sunlight,
different flavor,
flavor,
pronounced different flavor. Like that melon note is really coming through, which you had none of in the last one. I'm enjoying this one far more. Like this is the one. I'm glad I left this one till last because this is for me the better example of the West Coast IPA style that I wanted from the first one. There's more of that pronounced bitterness. The malt is carrying it. There's real melon characters. I'm not getting berries, but I mean that could just be me, the way my palate is. That's a much better West Coast style IPA. That's really I'm gonna have to find the third now. I'm gonna have to do it. I'm gonna have to track it down. I'm actually not shocked, but I'm a little I didn't think they'd be that different in terms of, just coming. It's the same hop, same base beer, but it's just the hops come from a different thing. That's a 4.5. That is
nice.
That's great.
Nice.
So look, if we had to save one of the valleys, sorry Yakima, you're done. Fuck off.
Well, it wasn't Washington State that recently suffered through fires, was it? Because they had to close the trail, the South. I can't remember the name of the fucking trail now.
The Oregon Trail.
No,
you have died from dysentery.
Not the Oregon Trail. There's a trail that runs from south of the desert all the way, so like south of the Nevada desert all the way up to the Canadian border. I think it's called the IPA or something like that. It's not the IPA. Fuck. I'll figure it out. But they had to close quite a lot of the trail in the middle because you've got to go all the way through Washington State, and a lot of it was on fire in the last season. So
yeah, right.
PT, Pacific Trail, PT, that's what it's called. It's a huge trail. It's basically Mexico to Canada, like the Mexican edge of America through to the Canadian border. It's a massive trail.
Yeah, right.
So I know that bushfires affected a lot of the wine that came out of the Hunter Valley last year, or a couple of years ago, rather.
Yeah, it really did.
Wouldn't surprise me if fire also affected the hop flavor. So I'm not just talking shit for the
No. 100% when you get where
directly relevant to the hops.
Yeah. I'm just looking up if I was going to go from the Yakima Valley to the Washington Willamette. Like, I'm just curious to see now how far apart these places are. You guys talking? I'll look that up.
What are you drinking, Pete?
Just before we get to that, I just want to share with the listeners at home that we use OneDrive for our show notes, which means that we can also update the show notes in real time and see the other two hosts updating the show notes in real time as well. So I'm logged in to my OneDrive account, and Tom's logged into his OneDrive account. I can see when Tom pops up. Dan's logged in as a guest, and he's named himself Turnip for some reason.
Have I? Oh,
so all I see is Turnip is currently editing this line. What the flying fuck?
That's clever.
Who let the turnips become self-aware? That's my first question.
Very random.
For those playing at home, the geography game, the difference of time to drive between Willamette and Yakima is about 3.5 hours.
Okay, so Sydney to Canberra.
Yeah, the third beer in the series I just looked up is in from Treasure Valley in Idaho, and that is 8.5 hours away.
I was going to say that's a lot further away. That's
Well,
mid-coast.
actually, it's close to 9 hours.
That's middle of America, isn't it? Idaho.
I mean, it's the next state over from Oregon. Like Oregon, Washington, and Idaho make up that kind of. Are you
heading east to get to Idaho?
Yeah,
I don't have a map of America
from Oregon to Idaho, you're heading east. Yeah,
yeah,
okay. But they have borders. They share borders.
Neighboring
all
states,
three share borders. Yeah. So I'll track that one down. It's the Treasure Valley, Idaho. And they say that one is more herbaceous, piney with a touch of marmalade. Be still my throbbing erection. I will definitely find that one.
Okay, so one quick correction on your erection is it's not the Pacific Trail, it's the Pacific Crest Trail, the PCT. That's what I was thinking of. That cuts through Washington.
No, I'm still barred up.
It's 4,270 kilometers as a walking trail is pretty hardcore.
I can do it.
What am I drinking? I am drinking, to answer your question from earlier, Dan, about 15 minutes earlier, Hop Nation Brewing Is it Return to Dark Paradise or Dark Paradise Returns? Paradise Returns. I know, but I had it in my head. Dark Paradise Returns, the Hokey Pokey Pastry Stout.
Hokey Pokey Pastry Stout. So
7%.
That's what it's all about. Hey!
Hokey Pokey ice cream is fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
Caramel, vanilla.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
A couple of other key elements in this, but
yeah. Oh,
how's it tasting, Peter?
Like fucking just perfection as a beer. It's a flat out 5 out of 5. Just putting that out there up front.
Whoa. Wow.
Shitloads of honeycomb. It's not honey, it's honeycomb, so it's got that slight acidic edge.
Man, I had a honeycomb whiskey
sweetness
today, and dear God, it was one of the most delicious things I've ever tasted. An Australian honeycomb whiskey.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah.
But we're talking about my beer, not your whiskey.
I'll talk about whatever I want to talk about.
Just being an arsehole. No, this beer is fucking phenomenally good. It really genuinely is. Lots of shitloads of honeycomb in it. It's got that. It does have vanilla notes. It's got a really, really rich toffee base.
Mm-hmm.
7%. It's getting me pretty trashed pretty quickly, which is fantastic. I'm in that warm, fuzzy place right now.
I think you're at that warm, fuzzy place on your last beer, Pete.
Well, you got him.
I'm a very happy camper, though. Lots of toffee, lots of honeycomb, lots of milk sugar. So shitloads of lactose in it. Like, it's a very, very sweet beer. But, really damn good.
Well,
milk sugar is lactose, is it?
Yeah, I know. It's funny. It's a funny thing to say in my head. Milk sugar.
I thought I was going to be in that same happy place with my beer too, Pete. But
let us know.
Well, no, I'm not. I'm not disappointed in it. I'm disappointed it wasn't what I had expected. So I've got another Sailor's Grave beer. It's the Red Belly Black Snake. I probably should have known from the name that it was going to be more than just an Imperial Stout. You're going to have to look this up for me because the text is very small on the back of the can and it's written in a real scratchy font. So I cannot.
I got it.
Hold the line
for the fucking sake of me. It's
50-50 split of Imperial Stout and apple juice that has undergone a wild fermentation. Red Belly Black Snake is a collaboration with fellow Gippslandian Gurney's Cider and is a blend of heritage apples, Mutsu, Golden Delicious, and raspberries brewed in deep southeast by Sailor's Grave Brewing.
When you started to say apples, I was like, why am I getting a whole bunch of raspberries out of it if it's apples? But then you said raspberries. It's a raspberry stout. It's what it is. It's raspberry.
Apparently, it's a Graf cider.
It's a Graf cider.
That's what it's classified as in.
I don't even know what
the
that
unreliable,
is.
the ever unreliable Untapped.
Well, it's got
Graf cider is a beer cider hybrid. And, yep.
Okay, thanks, fucking Siri.
Peter, would you like me to jerk you off?
It's definitely.
Okay. Don't tell anyone, but yeah.
It's definitely got the background roasty notes of the stout.
It's the cider version of a Braggot, is what this is.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. According to
a Graf is a beer cider hybrid.
Yep.
I think is what Tom said.
Incredibly enjoyable. It's got that real dry tannin, cider tannin dryness to it. It's got raspberries. It's got that roasty back note to it, but it just wasn't what I guess it's a wonderful product, but it's not what I wanted.
Can you imagine?
I wanted more what you wanted, what you have.
Yeah. Yeah.
Do you know what's actually very interesting about Graf cider that you will both enjoy? He who makes a Graf cider has forgotten the face of his father, because Graf cider, as the story goes, was a fantastical apple-based beer that appeared in The Dark Tower.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. They're not discussed in detail other than the incorporation of apples and malt in a drink that can either be sessionable or quite strong.
Well, it's definitely strong in this case. But I just want to know who woke up in the morning and thought, fuck it, you know what? I've got a really good imperial stout on the brew and I've got a fermented cider. I'm just going to mix them together and see what happens.
It came from those old English days when they had half a barrel of each left, and they blended them together because they needed to
free up a barrel.
One was
the
going.
Only reason to do anything.
One was going off, and that's how a lot of those things came about. Is one was a higher alcohol than the other, so they used it to preserve. The cider was a higher alcohol than the beer, so they used the cider to preserve the beer and serve it for longer.
It's the old saying, is it necessity is the mother of all invention? Something like that?
Yeah. Mm. And that was a wonderful quotation of Roland there, Thomas. I will pay that one.
Thank you.
We don't have enough Roland quotes going on here.
We can though. We can.
Tom adds it to his whiteboard of memorize all this shit. If you book them, they will come. So I'm going to list that as a Graf cider. What was your score out of 5? Is it 8% on the can?
It is 8% on the can. Okay. It is.
Start with the easy question. Yep. Out of 5?
Having never had one before, so no baseline to put this against, and judging it on its own merits, I would call that a 4 1/4.
And if you weren't limiting yourself to quarter points?
4 1/2.
Yeah. It's an interesting question there, wasn't it? Because is it a 4 1/2 or a 4? Which way are you leaning, up or down?
No. It was definitely a 4 1/2.
Leaning up, yeah.
But it might not have quite been a 4 3/4. So 4 1/4 is what it got.
Yeah, and that's why I asked. It's actually really interesting because it's rare that Dan gets to give us a unfettered punter score out of 5, because you're so used to judging beers for awards that you know what the style should be. You know and therefore how far they've deviated, and then so really giving it a score is about how much of that deviation is intentional versus accidental.
Yeah,
and does it work?
If I had judged that on a stout, a fruited stout, it would have been far less, because there's not enough stout there to
carry the stout.
To carry the stout. Yeah, exactly. So, but knowing now what you've said, that it falls under a different category, you can kind of go, yeah. Well, which is, I guess, why you get the brewers to enter them under the categories that they want to enter them under, and then put their notes under it as well. So, yeah, that was my lack of reading the can, because I couldn't literally read the back of the can in this light.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
We will get your lighting sorted, Dan.
No. I don't need lighting sorted. I'm quite happy how I am.
Listen, as the editor of the podcast, yeah, you do.
Yeah, no, I don't, because I don't want more shit in my room. This is my personal fortress of solitude, Peter, and you are not allowed in it. This in my garage.
I'm going to come in and put in several scented candles but I'm not going to tell you where I put them.
I've already jerked off in the corner of that room. He just doesn't know. So it's
dear.
marked my territory. Shall we move on to the spotlight? Went to a dark place really quickly.
Let's do it.
Just make sure this spotlight's not a black light if you're in Dan's little room now.
You can see that corner from space.
Deep dark holes. Deep dark holes. Yep.
Okay, and on that note, I'm going to take a leak. I'll be right back while you introduce the spotlight topic and Tom bites his lip.
God
Damn it.
See the thought forming.
Go.
No, it's your topic. You go.
Well, no. I don't think we can introduce this topic without Pete coming back. So let's have a brief discussion about.
Good, because I just lost a lot of my concentration. I had a lot of blood rush to my head.
Let's have a 45-second conversation about Mandalorian season 3.
Ooh.
So we're 3 episodes in.
Fourth episode is aired tonight. It's only 33 minutes long.
So episode 1 was extremely lackluster. The Mines of Mandalore felt like a Clone Wars live action show. I was very pleased with that. The first 10-15 minutes of episode 3 and the last 5 minutes of episode 3 were great. I think the 25
the middle dragged on.
30 minutes in the middle was pretty pointless.
The best thing that I saw came out of that was the guy who plays Dr. Periwinkle. Let's call him Dr. Periwinkle.
Parshan or something like
that. Yeah. So the cloner. He did put up a tweet which I thought was really, really magical, in that he said that he got his son a role on the set as just a random Coruscantian walk past her, and as he was tucking his son into bed one night, he goes, turn off the light and said, "Good night, son." And the son goes, "Hey, Dad." And he goes, "Yeah, what's up?" And he goes, "Coruscant's real." And he's like, "I've been there." It's like, yeah, you fucking have. And as a Star Wars fan, he got to say that to his son, and I was like, that's one of the most magical things I've ever read. That's I thought that was
what heartwarming shit have I just randomly walked back into?
We're doing a. Because I was going to save it till next episode because we'd probably be into episode 5, but we could have done a 4. No, 4's tonight. By the time we did next episode, it would have been episode 5 or maybe 6. So we could have done the first half of the season. But Dan was like, let's just do a quick 30-second review of Mando so far. And I episode
started
3
bad, got really fucking good.
Episode 3, the middle bit dragged on just a bit too long.
All the talking.
Yeah, both characters were great.
Yeah,
and the story that they were telling there was really good, but just about 20 minutes too long. We could have saved.
How fucking good was the ship graveyard, like the Star Destroyer graveyard? That was brilliant.
Things like that was really good.
It was a perfect mirroring of Andor.
Yes, but without and that I completely agree with where you're saying there, but. What I'm missing in this season of Mandalorian is that wonderful grittiness we got in Andor, and I don't feel that. I really feel this is a bit of an
anticlimax in comparison.
Definitely, we get Mando 1 and 2, which were great, and I think the first 3 episodes of season 1 of Mandalorian had that dark grittiness to it, especially where he attacks the facility back to get Grogu out. But I feel this has got a bit of that story Book of Boba Fett shine to it, that the lighting, the color, and that's a little bit too bright on this season of The Mandalorian.
Until you get to the Mines of Mandalore episode where it was the darkest fucking thing on the universe.
Well, I don't know.
No, it's not Game of Thrones dark. But
I don't know whether because Andor was filmed quite differently. It had different filters over the top of the cameras.
That was also filmed on location. This is still filmed in volume.
Definitely. Yeah, definitely.
I think, if I can translate, Dan, and tell me if I'm missing what you're trying to say, because I think I've got the same spidey sense about the season that you do. I just maybe articulate it differently. it just doesn't have the Western style feel to that the first 2 seasons did. Like if you harken back to loping through the desert on the back of those creatures and the shootout with IG-11 in the fucking Western style saloon battle, the latest episodes just don't have that same edge to them.
They feel like the Book of Boba Fett, which feels like a Rodriguez episode.
Yep.
Not like a Mandalorian, not like Andor, and they hit so many highs with Andor.
And this is the other question that you and I will never be able to answer is: would you have felt the same way about Mando season 3 if Andor hadn't existed? And I think the answer is yes. You just wouldn't have been able to articulate it quite as succinctly because Andor wouldn't have been there to compare it to.
100%. That episode 1, I actually really disliked that first episode, especially.
I was thankful that episode, because you would have heard the podcast you missed, right? I was relieved that episode 2 sucked me back in because I was worried that this was the break point for me where I would check out of Mando.
Yeah. And just while you were away, I said to Tom, episode 2 felt like a live action version of a live action episode of the Clone Wars.
Yes. It
hit those beats of and the look and feel of what a Clone Wars episode would have been. But there's no direction. I feel really lost now. I really thought the season 3 was going to be
more Jedi-ish stuff.
And Pete, it's Din, not Jin.
Not Jin. Yeah, no, I picked up on my own fault when I edited it. It was too late to fix it. I do that a lot, actually. I do research while I'm editing. I'm like,
can I give you my prediction for what's going to happen in season 3? Or what I would like to happen?
I think I agree with what you're about to say, but I would have...
Interesting, because I haven't said a single thing yet, but this is going to be... This is a good test. Let's see.
I'm just going to quickly interject. I would have liked to have seen this season...
This is my writing down on the coaster moment, yeah.
No Grogu, and just a Din Djarin, and potentially Din Djarin and Bo-Katan going to Mandalore for 3 or 4 episodes for redemption to the Children of the Watch. But they've now cancelled that out, and it all seems, I don't know if superfluous is the right word, but it all seems pointless now because it's now all been cancelled out in 3 episodes. Or let's call it 1 and a bit, because it wasn't 3 episodes, it was 1 and a bit.
Just before you say what you're going to say, Tom, I'm amazed that he still has the Darksaber. When all his shit got stripped off him, and he jumped into the water, and she rescued and Bo rescued him out of the waters of the living waters of Mandalore. I was seriously expecting her to pick up the Darksaber, and then she ended up using the Darksaber to defeat.
She's a Mandalorian. She's high.
No, but she also has to defeat him in order to own it. I get it.
Yeah,
but it's surprising that we haven't already had that, because it's coming. Bo-Katan has to end up with the Darksaber. However she ends up with it,
she doesn't.
I want her to. I don't want Din Djarin to rule Mandalore.
Completely agree.
Yeah.
Yes, and he doesn't deserve to rule Mandalore.
No.
He's not in line to rule Mandalore, and she's a much better pick for it. So, in my opinion,
the fact that she hasn't told anyone about seeing the Mythosaur, spoiler. Catch up.
Here.
Sorry, catch up. The other thing that I said
podcast,
to Dan,
we can spoil it if we want to.
We can. Pete, I haven't said this to you, but I said this to Dan. Because you haven't watched much of Rebels, have you?
No, I haven't watched any.
So have you read much of the Expanded Universe as well? Like the old books?
The old books, yes. I've read almost all of the old books, including the teen fiction books.
So my message to Dan the other day was, because after you made us rewatch it for that shooting style thing, which...
we haven't talked
actually,
about that.
I know we haven't talked on it yet, and I think we should do it when we do the next episode. We'll do like a more deeper dive in the first half. It's kind of ruined that scene for me, your point.
Sorry.
And I'll explain why in the later thing. And it's not ruined it. It's made a glaring thing when it's...
You can't unsee it.
But it's also compared to what you said about latest shots in that sequence. Anyway, when they say it's no ordinary Imperial warlord, the fact that there's that many TIE interceptors, they're leading into Grand Admiral Thrawn. Which is going to tie into Ahsoka.
I totally agree. And so I didn't make the leap to Thrawn because I haven't
Oh,
read.
I didn't either.
I haven't read those books.
Oh,
When you say the old books, I know the Thrawn trilogy are core, but it's not the old. It wasn't in the first 20 or so novels that they wrote in the expanded universe from memory.
It was like the first 3 out. Heir to the Empire.
Timothy Zahn.
Was like several of the first 3 out.
I might have missed them then.
Thrawn's he's a badass Imperial, and if they're bringing Thrawn into live action,
I know who Thrawn is.
Yeah,
but I don't recall explicitly reading his books. It may just have been because I was so young and it was so long ago.
Yeah,
I am an old fuck now, and I did read those when I was in my teens. So,
it's the Heir to the Empire series.
Yeah.
But yes, so yeah, I really don't want Din to become Mandalore, and I really hope that by the end of this season, all this Mandalore stuff actually is like, this is going to be the catalyst to push him back into bounty hunting.
But he doesn't need a place. Yeah. Okay. So that's exactly where my head was, right?
Yeah.
He doesn't need to belong.
I don't need him to be the hero. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. He's better when he floats, and that's the bounty hunter mantle that he had at the start. Or he's a man on an adventure.
And he swaps out his N1 for a gauntlet. And then
for a
bounty hunts a gauntlet.
Definitely. Yeah.
But my point is he doesn't need to find a home. He doesn't need to find a home base.
No.
He doesn't need to be based anywhere. He was better in season 1 when he was roaming on a mission.
The problem with that now, I feel, is that Disney is going to use him as the
anchor point for the extended universe.
No, just shut up and let me finish my point without trying to finish my thought for me. Disney is going to use the Mandalorian and him as a introduction point for Grand Admiral Thrawn, bringing Bo-Katan in. They've already brought Ahsoka in. They've already brought Luke Skywalker back. They've already brought Boba Fett back. Like, this is the Mandalorian. We should be focusing on the Mandalorian. We shouldn't be focusing on, okay, well, who's the character, who's the Legends character that they're going to bring in this episode, or how many are they going to bring in this season?
But we're seeing a pattern going forward in that there's 2 episodes of since season 2 of Mando. That is, there's 2 episodes which are launching the next show. So we had it in Mando season 2 where there's 2 episodes that really heavily featured Boba Fett, and then all of a sudden we get a Boba Fett. Well, not all of a sudden, but then we get the Book of Boba Fett. Book of Boba Fett then has 2 episodes which are almost entirely devoted to Din and Grogu, and then that leads into season 3. I wouldn't be surprised if, especially using Bo-Katan, and if Ahsoka comes back, that leads into Ahsoka, which is from memory the next show, and it is the
next show.
Yeah, so it's they're using each season to parallelly launch the next series and to get us excited for that. It is a nice way to do it. Instead of doing the MCU credits, they're using whole episodes to go.
Yeah.
It's a nice way to do a warm handover, is 2 episodes in and then 2 episodes on the other side to go back.
Yeah.
It's because you have to watch both to get all the content from the one show that you're watching. If you want to see all of the Mandalorian content, you have to watch the first 2 episodes of whatever. So
middle 2 as well. It seems to be like middle to latter half of the season.
There's no way that Rosario Dawson's not coming back into Mando season 3. I just can't see it.
Should be back next episode if Tom's right.
If not this one,
it'll be 6. It's usually 6 and 7 is what I've noticed. That's the pattern.
Yeah. Okay. So we're only up to chapter 4 tonight.
4 tonight. Yeah.
But I really disliked episode 1, but I found that was a technical that was editing. I would like to say that it's editing, not bad acting, but it felt like bad acting. It read like bad acting.
It's also bad plot points and everything, because IG-11, was imperative to his trip to Mandalore,
and then meant nothing. Yeah. And there's quite a lot of that. I'm ready to be rid of the Mandalorian, but then the next episode I'm going to go fucking move heaven and earth to rescue him. Like, what the fuck? And we haven't talked about that. What the fuck happened between episode 2 and 3 where Bo-Katan's like, fuck that guy. I never want to see him again. I'm sick of him. It's the end of him. That's it. And then Grogu rocks up and somehow
Yeah.
communicates with her, and then she leaves her own planet to rescue him?
She's not like that, though. She was just shitty because he had the Darksaber and she didn't, and she lost all of her forces. She wasn't really
And the
shitty
only
at
reason
him.
you know that is because you're so across the expanded universe, because it's not
Yes.
it's not a story that's told in the show.
No, there should have been another episode. There should have been in that first episode, if it was a filler catcher-upper or whatever you want to call it, there should have been more focus on Bo-Katan and the fact that she has lost her. It was just her and the droid in the castle.
Because
they
that
tried to show
undercurrent-
that, but it didn't show it as well as they should.
Yeah, that undercurrent, Dan, is not knowledge that's shared in any of the live action shows that we're talking about. It might be in the expanded universe. It might be in the cartoons. But
It's not really in any of it, but I mean,
No, it's not, yeah.
she was part of Death Watch, but she
She had
also-
a little squad, but she didn't.
She wasn't completely-
the fact that they weren't present on the moon where she was having her castle, where she had a castle, like that was for me, that was like an indicator of like, oh, they've split off after she kind of left them to go join Din in season 2. It was like,
oh,
yeah.
or maybe she had a tiz and left them. Like maybe it wasn't them that walked away to go and be mercenaries in the world. Maybe it was her that walked away from them and said,
Death Watch you're talking about?
No. Like,
no, the two
losing
people she had with her.
Axe, whatever his name is, and Axe Wolf or whatever his name is, and there were other offsider.
They're in season 2. Yeah.
The red shirt.
Yeah.
I guess my point is there's quite a lot of plot points in Mandalorian where they just conveniently they establish some important point and then just conveniently ignore that important point in the very next episode.
Yeah, definitely.
But I know, and personally, I feel a lot of that comes down
weird.
to the fact that they are using different directors for most episodes.
No, but they were always doing that. Mandalorian seasons 1 and 2, they had a different director almost every episode. They brought directors back, but sequentially, I don't think there's 2 episodes in a row that had the same director in the first 2 seasons, and yet Favreau managed to create this arc that made Mando what it was. So that's not an excuse for what we're watching now. I'm not interested in seeing you unless you take your helmet off and don't, and then like a couple of episodes later, don't bother going there because it doesn't exist anymore. It's a waste of fucking time. Like, 1 minute you're directing me to go to the living waters and you're sending me on the quest, and the next episode you're telling me don't bother even trying to go on my quest because it's
polarizing bit, and that's just
like,
that's
what the
just,
fuck.
But that's a drop of the ball on Favreau and Filoni. They
But
should
to me,
pick that up.
I agree, but to me it read the same way as Bo-Katan saying good riddance to Din. Like, I never want to see that piece of shit again. And the very next episode, Grogu rocks up with a fucking astromech that we've never seen before. Somehow the two of them communicate
several times.
He has a bad motivator.
Okay. But the point is the astromech, I'm backpedaling hard there. Fuck. But the astromech and Grogu somehow communicate with her what the fuck just happened, and she's gone from I never want to see that asshole again to I'll travel across. I'll leave home to go and save him.
Pete, I've done the same thing and not had I've said someone fuck off, like don't talk to me, but then the next thing they're like, hey man, I'm really in the shit, and you're like, well, fuck, I'll run to your rescue, kind of thing. That's a more human approach to anything than I think that was actually a more human approach to Bo-Katan.
And don't forget, her motivation is she still wants the Darksaber.
Yeah, she wants to rule Mandalore. Yeah,
she
has
wants
the
to
Darksaber.
Reconstruct Mandalore. I think there's truer themes behind her character than just wanting to rule or wanting the Darksaber.
No, she wants to lead Mandalore into a new age. Like in a good way,
but
like
not
just in a self-serving way. Yeah. No, she wants to bring Mandalorian culture back.
And Tom, did you when
Jesus
Din Djarin,
Christ, what a fucking sidebar! It's great.
Yeah, it was always going to happen.
Definitely a sidebar. We might not get to this spotlight, but Tom, when Din Djarin and Grogu are going down to Mandalore for the first time, he talks to Grogu about how Mandalore used to be beautiful and lush and green.
Yeah, I got that reference.
In the songs of old, and it's not referred to as that at all in the Clone Wars and any of the canon. And I say this loosely
because the songs of old were Karen Travis.
Yeah, exactly. That was
beautiful
definitely
angel that graced us with her view.
100%. That was a reference to
Good.
I'm
She
sure
deserves the
Tom
massive
talked
shout.
about that last episode explicitly as well.
Oh, did he?
Yeah.
No, we've talked about that in previous episodes, and I sung.
It was
the
either
songs-
last episode or
I
the
sung the
episode
songs of
before.
glory around Karen and Travis many a time. Yeah,
But it was just this one little throwaway line, and he talked about it being green. And when you see it in the Clone Wars, which is the first time you see Mandalore for real
on screen in any form.
Yeah.
and it's not this lush green world that is
it's
spoken about.
Dry. It was almost dry yellow.
Yeah, arid
Exactly.
and overdeveloped in terms of civilization too.
And it was a specific call out to the beautiful green planet that is in the Republic.
Because they were farmers. They were warrior farmers essentially. Yeah.
It was Norway.
Yeah.
They were Vikings, and it was Norway. Is how I pull it.
Also, we can't also talk about the latest couple of episodes without calling out the lovely little Batman '89 tribute that Dim pulled off.
Yeah, the aerodynamic fucking stall in a ship that doesn't have aerodynamics. It was great
Why doesn't it have aerodynamics?
because it has an engine that's able to overcome gravity. So
lives.
Yeah, but he did it on purpose.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. That's why it's a tribute to Batman '89 because he's in a spaceship that doesn't rely on aerodynamics.
He also did it in the Razor Crest.
He cut the engines a few times. He loves the cut engine little fallback. Yeah.
But my point was a stall because that was a traditional stall. A stall is when aerodynamics fail and. Yeah, and these aren't aerodynamic ships. In fact, they could be cubes. As long as they've got a fucking an engine, they don't need to be surfaced for air resistance, wind resistance. Anyway.
Well,
I'm too drunk to fucking describe what I'm trying to say.
They often talk about in a lot of the Rogue Squadron novels about how TIE fighters, the aerodynamics do kick in because repulsor lifts only have a certain range. So the way that TIE fighters are designed, they're designed for zero gravity dogfighting. So when the Rogue Squadron would bring a squadron of TIE fighters down into gravity situations like an atmosphere, that's when they go, fuck you, TIE fighters. We're going to fuck you up right now because we're snub fighters.
I'm not saying So I'm not saying that you don't need aerodynamics if you're going to fight in atmosphere. I'm saying you cannot stall if you have an engine that doesn't rely on aerodynamics in order to stay in the air, and all real life aeroplanes require aerodynamic, or I can't remember the name, lift essentially. They require wings to generate lift. They require thrust in order to generate lift. That's, stalling is a byproduct of those things. Once you've got an engine
that on purpose, it's not you didn't fly up there and go, oh shit, I need to turn around and do this because
my engines are being defeated by
on purpose.
Yeah.
Also, it was a very quick VTOL liftoff for the old N1.
Yeah. Yes.
That was a bit of creative
CGI, and some visible CGI of him running into that cockpit too.
Oh, I thought that was one of the best bits of that entire sequence was the fact that he overshot it. I thought that was the most genuine thing of that whole sequence, despite the
overshot the drop.
The shock drop, yeah. The fact that he overshot it, I was like, that is the most human moment of that whole thing. The rest of it was just like
stalled and
fantastic.
Stumbled and fell and.
Also, where was that shot? Because I want to visit.
I'm glad that episodes 2 and 3 were a dramatic improvement on episode 1, but I still think season 3 is the weakest Mando season we've had so far, and I'm really hoping they lift their game strongly in the next few episodes.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, it's hard to tell. We're so early into it. Yeah, I don't.
True.
Yep. I agree though.
So
should we just go straight on to Are You Winning, Son and park the spotlight? It seems we just did 25 minutes, 30 minutes on
I'm easy either way. We probably should.
Yeah, let's park that because
I really like the spotlight too. I think it's a cool idea.
I want to put some more thought into the spotlight. I had a very quick view, but I had a very busy day, so I couldn't really get stuck into it.
Yeah, cool.
Definitely.
Who's going to start? Who's winning? Son first?
Who's winning, son?
I'm not winning.
You're not winning.
Well, Peter, then you have to start. If you're not winning, you have to start. There you go.
I'm not winning.
Why aren't you winning, Peter?
I was trying to say put me last, not put me
No,
first.
no,
I'm
you first
Sucks for
now.
you, champ.
I've been working. I've got a new job, so I've been very, very limited in terms of free time and fucking exhausted from trying to drink from a fire hose when I get home. So the only thing I did was I bought The Last of Us Part 2 after finishing the TV series because I want to make sure I finish the game before I start watching the TV show.
Oh, because
even though the TV show,
right,
correct. Even though the TV, so season 2 of The Last of Us is not likely to be out until the very end of 2024 or sometime Q1 2025.
Oh, it reminds me. I got a question to ask you.
So ages. So I bought Part 2. I've got up to the point where they're introducing the girlfriend. I don't remember her name. The
in
female
Last of Us 2.
Yeah.
Yes.
The female character that ends up dating Ellie. Because this is the problem. Because it's such an old game, there's enough spoilers that I know bits and pieces of what's going to happen, but I don't know context or why or how or when. I don't know the relevance of the hammer, although I know it's very important. And I have a very strong suspicion as to why a hammer is an important motif. And I say that because they've already released a poster for The Last of Us Season 2, and it's a hammer. And apparently that's extremely important.
Buff Abbey is what they were kind of showing there. Oh no, the hammer's significant. Yeah. Oh, it plays a part in a certain scene.
I don't want to. If I'm right, I don't want it to be a spoiler for other people that haven't learnt what I've already learnt. I also know that apparently Part 2 of The Last of Us is a lot more divisive. There's some plot points in there that are going to really divide audiences, and there's some
I didn't find
confronting stuff apparently.
Yeah, I think a lot of more people made. There's definitely one plot point that really broke a lot of the Last of Us fans, which happens quite early on in the game. But
it happens early on in the game. I almost hope it does because
you'd know about it if you'd experienced it. Let me say it's that significant. And it really sets up a lot of the themes that come in Part 2. But I also think that a lot of the game base, a lot of people who played the game really missed the point of both characters. They were trying to. Yep. Pete, that's exactly what it is. Yep, and you know what? I'm going to throw one back at you. Have a look at that one. Is that right? What I just sent you?
These two are sending text messages between each other.
We're being subtle. We're being very subtle.
Flying under the radar.
I don't know what that means.
Fuck, man.
I don't know if there's a typo in there.
Nope, there is not.
But is that where
a lot of people really miss the way that the direction they were taking the story in Part 2? I feel that the central theme that they were trying to get through two characters on very different sides of the coin. But
the funny thing is, and this speaks to the significance of all the masterpiece that is the game. I don't know about the second game because I haven't played it, but the first game is that there's so many layers to the themes in that first movie or that first game and then that first TV series rather. It's good to have some depth rather than just being two-dimensional because we do play a lot of that. We do watch a lot of that two-dimensional shit. It's easy to understand. It's pre-tuned. It's not supposed to be difficult because it's aimed at an audience that doesn't want to think.
Yeah, no. With Last of Us Part 2, it was more that the fans they wanted to go in a different direction and it didn't. And then they were a bit upset with the way it went. But there was
always complexity to the characters, to both of those characters.
Yeah, no, and that's the thing.
There was complexity.
Just a bunch of fanboys who are upset with the way the story went because they were attached to certain characters, they were and they
wanted things to go in a certain direction.
They just wanted things to go in a different way, and then when it didn't, but I actually really appreciated both sides of the story you get served in Last of Us Part 2. I thought they were. I mean, it's the same harrowing fucking shit that you expect.
But it's just, I think the message that it reinforces for what you're talking about is there are consequences to choices, even if you feel like you made the right choice.
Yeah.
That's fundamentally one of the core themes.
The divisiveness you're hearing about online is, I think, a lot of idiots just not realizing what the game directors were trying to get across.
Yeah. And instead of continuing to talk cryptically, I think we should move on from my Are You Winning Son? But yes, I am. I've started to play The Last of Us Part 2, and I am very much looking forward to an epic storyline. Dan?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, I just remember the hammer. Woof. Rough.
Dan, are you winning, son?
I can imagine what that hammer is. Yes.
Well,
so
it wasn't a private chat, by the way, motherfucker. It was in our group chat.
Oh, that's all right. My phone's down like a good podcaster. I don't look at my phone during recordings.
I'm texting your mum right now, and she says, "Shut the fuck up."
Well, there we go. Yeah, so I've finished the core story of The Witcher 3. Witcher 3,
wow,
and Witcher 3 Enhanced Edition. So that's good. So now I'm on to the Blood and Wine, the Toussaint, basically the French district segment of the game, the DLC, and it's fantastic. I've only ever played this Blood and Wine once, and so it's beautiful to get into the Toussaint district again because I've forgotten 90% of what happens out there, down to a little insignificant side mission that is completely set within a bank. And it's beautiful and fun, and it's well written, and it is just a joy after Al talks about Ubisoft bringing in AI writing assistants and things like that. But the big one that I got into last night, and I literally loaded it in last night so I had something new to talk about other than The Witcher 3, was Disco Elysium. So Disco Elysium I've had in my...
Yeah, I've heard about this game. Yeah.
I've had it on my watch list for a very long time. Ever since it first released, probably 5 years ago, I've had it on my list of I need to play this game. It's a good old school detective noir point-and-click adventure game that's set in a dystopian future. And it's got a wonderful watercolored, cel-shaded art style that
it's super dark, isn't it?
It's super dark, yeah. Really, really, really dark. And when you first load into it, you get to pick an archetype, which is basically
this featured in a video I was watching the other day, actually.
Oh, okay. It's
how you can die at the start of a video game, and it was like if you can't even get out of the bed if you set certain things too low.
Oh, really? I didn't know that. So I just
you can
picked one of the
you can kill yourself
archetypes.
in the first like 2 minutes of the game, like and it's permadeath kind of thing. Yeah.
Oh wow, okay, I didn't know that.
You spent 25 minutes picking the exact width of nose just to die. That's fantastic.
No, it's not
that kind of
visuals.
RPG.
It's a point based RPG. So you can pick from 3 set archetypes. So intelligent, somewhere in the middle, and then just a dumbass brute where it's all just physical, and then you can set the numbers for yourself. So a custom setting. You're always the same character. You play a cop where you wake up with amnesia in a alcohol induced amnesia.
Getting more original.
Alcohol induced amnesia, so self inflicted amnesia. You wake up with a horrible headache.
We've all been there.
And it's literally a tabletop game in a RPG, in a video game RPG, and it's beautiful. It's beautifully depicted. It's
really nice looking, like stylistically.
And the guy that does the narration, his voice is goddamn like audio silk. Like apparently he has never done acting before. He's never done voice acting. He's never done any form of acting. He's a dude from London, and he's just an absolute pleasure to listen to. And as far as I know, I have looked very little into this game because I really wanted to go into it fresh because it interested me so much. And from what I understand, there's 24 different categories that you will mental aspects that you can put your skill-based points into, and there is 24, I hope, alterations of this narrator's voice that he puts slight inflections onto to narrate those levels of this person's psyche. So you wake up and the introduction to the game is your lizard brain, and it tells you there's a text box on the right hand side of the screen, and it's the title is Lizard Brain, and it's saying just sink into the darkness, just stay in the sleep, just stay there. And then it gets further down. You go through a couple of dialogue choices, and then your lymphatic system pipes up, and it says, no, you're starting to take a breath, and you're starting to become conscious of the world around you. And then you make some more dialogue choices there. And the screen's black at this time. Like you haven't even entered the visual game of the world. And then you make some choices and you get into the game. And then it's choices on your skills. Like it's some dice rolls that are enhanced by your skills, like every tabletop game.
Yeah.
There's a little abstract graphic of visualization and like your physicality, and there's these little abstract paintings that pop up on the side of the text box, and it's just point and click. You have a lot of internal dialogue. So the only way that time moves in this game, and this is where I was saying earlier that when Sui says he doesn't read anything, so he would fail at this game, because the only way that time moves in this game is if you go through dialogue choices, or you read books and you read notes, or you read, because you're a cop in this game, so you read notes on either the case that you're on or old case files. So the point I'm up to very early in the prologue is I've finally found my detective's clipboard, and I'm going through old case notes, and there's about 4 or 5 different cases. And it tells you when you start to read, one of the dialogue choices is how long is it going to take to read through these? And the narrator comes up and it goes, it's going to take about 30 minutes to read through these. Now, that's 30-minute game time. So each time you click on a dialogue choice, the time jumps 10 minutes kind of thing. But still, you're sitting there for 10, 15 minutes listening to this beautiful, silky voiced narrator talk you through this detective's, this case, all these case notes, and you're interacting with your subconscious as it goes through. So you're
remembering essentially the cases that you already lived through and already solved.
That's exactly it. So when your dialogue choices come up, they're either in speech bubbles, they're either in quotation marks, which means it's a vocalized in the real world. So anybody that's around you in the real world, so the partner, that your cop partner that you have, can hear you, and then he will either comment to that. But if it doesn't have those quotation marks, it's an internal dialogue. So you're only talking to your internal voices. And then it all comes through like that. And it's just, it's a wonderful game. It's truly, one, it's breathtaking. It's actually what it is. It's refreshing. It's slow paced. It's a lot of text and voice and just going to this and studying this, and we get a true little detective vision. I'm at the very first crime scene, and I succeeded in one of the roles, and then it flicks to blue screen over the top of the crime scene, and all of the little yellow numbered police
evidence
markers came up, and then you literally go through each evidence marker, and it tells you this just happened to be footprints in the snow, and it tells you the size of the shoe that the footprint is, and it tells you how old it is, and this and that, and you get to a couple, and one's slightly deeper and one's slightly lighter, and so you start to internally ask you questions about the case to flesh it all out. And you don't have to do any of this. You don't have to ask you these internal questions, but each one of these internal questions you ask, it might go to a check, a dice roll check, and it sheds light on the case, which might make it easier for you to solve down the track. So it might open dialogue choices with other people and that. So I'm literally 2 to 3 hours into this, and I've walked out of the room that I was in.
Completely engrossed by the sound of it.
I've walked out of the room that I was in, the apartment that I woke up in drunk. Yeah. Almost had a heart attack trying to jump up and pull a necktie off a ceiling fan because I failed that check. I got into the foyer, and then I walked out of the building, and that's literally all I've done in about 3 hours. And it's absolutely engrossing and absolutely a breath of fresh air coming into a world like this is stop and listen and think and appreciate what these people have written and created over fast-paced, stupid,
in your face,
quippy, throwaway dialogue.
Easy to comprehend, pre-chewed bullshit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And this is why I pointed out to Ed that if he really wanted something that was very well written and you just want to sit there with headphones on in the dark and just listen to this person talk
Literature.
to you. Yeah. It's wonderful. I really, really love it. I'm a little disappointed I started it now. I want to get into the slightly colder months and just sit here in the cold, dark winter.
Sipping on a fucking stout as it warms up.
And just be pleasantly in my environment. That's exactly it. And play this through. So wonderful game. If you can play it in a dark room, don't play it in a bright daylight lit room because it's playing a alcoholic police cop in a dystopian future. It's not made for the bright
Definitely
sunlight of Australian summer.
Yeah. That's cool.
Thomas, are you winning, son?
Are you winning, son?
Oh, of course I'm winning. I'm always winning. Well, no. Not
you look
exactly.
like you're half asleep at the moment.
I was paying attention. That was my attention face.
It wasn't a comment on attention. It was
a comment. It was a comment. Let's just put it that. Look, I didn't bother Dan with this because he hasn't played the game yet, but I did mention to Pete that I've been bugged out of my platinum for Hogwarts Legacy.
Again.
I did hear that, yes.
Severely, though. I think this is a real failure on the studio's part. I am 20 collectibles. The difference between my in-game and my PlayStation counter is 20 collectibles. That's a significant fuck up. And then I've jumped onto the...
Tom, I was 180 away from...
Well, that's the thing. That was the point I was leading into. That then I've jumped on the bug reporting page for Warner Brothers for this game, and I've seen people who are much more than that. There's
the original bug, the first bug they fixed on PlayStation 5 was it stopped counting at 150, and you need to be at 603
or 608. Yeah, but there's still people stuck at 150. UP.
Do that.
So yeah, it's a shame. I've left it there. I didn't finish the main story. I am up to the last mission because I'm just like I'll wait.
You're a bit over it.
No, it's not even that. It's just I'll wait. I'll let them fix it, and then I'll go in and finish it. It'll be great. That's fine. I had other games that I had sitting on the
more patient than I am, mate. They're game breaking bugs.
Yes and no. I still enjoyed. I really appreciated the fact that despite the fact they made you play the opening sequence 4 times, there was a little bit of variation in like
the quest and the common room.
Yeah, up until a certain point, it was the same, and then it was just like there was this one quest, and it was just like it was different for each house. I was like, that was cool.
Yeah, that was cool.
I got the opening mission down into a nice rhythm where I was just like, I can bang this out in a couple of hours, which was fine.
But then
But it was a too big a map for what they were making you do.
Yeah,
I definitely agree on that.
Definitely was. But you're talking about like one mission was different between 4 houses, and I go back to, and I know I always do way too often, but I go back to World of Warcraft, and your first 20 levels are completely customized based on your race, and there's 16 races. So it's not 16 races. I think there's 8 races, but there's 8 starting mission sequences. And those starting mission sequences will take you 30 hours to complete. So like one mission that was different between the 4 houses was kind of like it was cool, but it's not.
I guess the way I'm coming from it is
groundbreaking.
It wasn't anywhere about that. It was more that if they, if I'm going for the platinum trophy and they force me to play the 4 houses,
at least they're different.
At least there was some variation.
Yeah.
And then I went, cool, that's a bit broken. I'll wait till they patch it and fix it. It's fine. It can sit there in the background. I jumped back into Far Cry. I'd played like the opening sequence of Far Cry Primal, so I'm going through the entire series because they're available on the PS Extra at the moment. Look, Far Cry Primal. The best thing about it was, so it's set in Neolithic times. Given the name Primal, they developed an entire language for the game, which I thought was really cool. They got a ancient language expert in to develop a a proto language based on other
cool.
ones, which is a pro and con in that, you know, if I'm playing a game that's speaking in English, like I don't have to pay attention to every cutscene. Have to pay attention to every cutscene because otherwise you have no idea what they're saying. There was a couple of scenes that, like, I don't think myself as a squeamish kind of gamer in any way, shape, or form, but watching your main character drink the blood and eyeballs of a fallen foe from a skull, I visibly went, that's a bit much. The best thing about that game, so yeah, Neolithic times, you're playing as a caveman guy who's kind of like this weird hero character. You learn how to tame beasts. It's pretty much the same thing for it. You throw bait down, the beast's start eating the bait, and you go, shh, shh, oosa. And then suddenly you're in control of a grizzly bear. That seems factual. The best thing about it was, though, that you had some fun interactions with those animals. You know, using them as you know, you could recreate. You could tame a honey badger to just go and bite people. You know, in this little ball scurrying thing that just come up and just
they're pretty hardcore.
and
Those
fuck
fucking
off.
things.
Yeah. You eventually got to ride a saber-toothed tiger, and it became a He-Man simulator. That was fantastic. The best thing about, like, from a gameplay perspective, because obviously the Far Cry games are based around a first-person shooter. So you had bow, you had a slingshot, and then you got a spear. And the weight they put behind the throw of the spear it always felt great. It was a really solid overarm throw, and like as you developed the skill and you got better spears, the guys would fly back further. So as they got hit with like you got some dude square in the chest, he would just fold into it and just fly back like 4 meters, and you'd be like, "Fuck yeah,
I'm solid ragdoll.
I am
physics.
proto caveman. This is great." And then so finished that. That was really good. It was probably actually the first of the Far Cry series, because I played 3 and 4 now, and Blood Dragon, which is 3.5. It's the first one that's really Ubisoft has really gone, we're connecting this to the other games that we do. So like the last trophy I did was an Assassin's Creed style jump. They had a mission within the game where a guy jumped, thought he could convince if he connected enough feathers that he could fly, and then he jumps off a cliff and lands in a hay bale, but it like breaks his legs, like kind of thing, and you just like, he's left there crying, and you're like, bye, I don't have to do this anymore.
Nice little homage.
Yeah, and then, you know, you go into a certain cave at one point and you find one of the blood dragon, like dragon dinosaur things lit up in neon purple, and you're like, cool. And then I jumped back into Far Cry 5, which I was playing the multiplayer of, and it is one of the best user creator multiplayer experiences that I've ever played. The amount of what's the word I'm looking for? The amount of creativity you can do in each, like building a map from scratch. There is entire map builds which are 1-to-1 scale ratio builds of N64 GoldenEye maps. There's Halo maps in there. Every single multiplayer game you can think of, there's a bunch of Call of Duty maps. Like at one point I was playing on Dust. I was playing on Dust.
Yeah.
But I'm running around as like with these weapons that they use in the game. It's super fun. It forces you to play a little bit of it. As I said, I ended up playing against this guy that we developed this weird unspoken teabagging relationship that we had. But then even getting like, and that was super fun. It was for forcing you into a multiplayer like aspect of a game, for trophies from MySpace anyway. Actually thinking about it, I'm really glad that I did play it. I'd probably now, even as I'm playing through the story, I get the feeling I'm like, you know what? I'm actually just going to jump into the multiplayer for a bit because it was so much fun and it's so active still. Yeah, and just running through some of those like user-built levels that are like...
It's a palate cleanser from the storyline, by the sounds of it.
Yeah, but also the storyline, this one, like it's the first one that I've actually gone... Like people talk about Far Cry 3 as like the really foundational Far Cry game in terms of the way that the character was. And I'm like, yeah, but I've also played it probably 10 years too late because I'm like, oh, that's a bunch of characters I've already done. Like, yeah, he was crazy and it was great. It was really well voice acted, but it didn't hit me as much as it clearly hit people who played it when it came out. But jumping into Far Cry 5, which is now 5 years old, it is still the most believable bad guy I've faced. In terms of it could be happening right now in a real world situation, and we wouldn't know about it because it's set in deep Montana and it's a religious cult, and it's like that is too real. It's almost too real in the fact that like I'm a little bit nervous playing it, kind of thing.
A few fundamentalist fucking American cults, the
really
paramilitary.
Mormon, like fundamentalist Mormon kind of people. The only thing that's shitting me off about the single player campaign is they definitely put too many quests in, like things to do. And like, you know, you go and talk to some random person in the middle of the town or whatever, and they're like, go do this for us. And it's like, yeah, cool, whatever. It's a basic fetch quest or like a kill quest, whatever. But they put too many of them in for the amount of like resistant points because you have to build up a certain amount to trigger the boss fight. But they put too many things in so that, you know, you get through 15 of them, but there's still 10 left to do, but you only need to do one more to trigger the boss fight. And then after that, they mean nothing. Like they're completely insignificant. And I think that's just like, well, why didn't you scale back the points? Like, I get the fact you don't have to do every single quest, but it's like there's a bunch of stuff being like, you know, go do this, and they make it seem so urgent, but really it just doesn't matter at all.
Yeah.
And then there's the other annoying thing is like you'll be trying to do something and like you'll be trying to travel to a certain point to do a certain quest or whatever, and the game will take over and be like, no, you're doing this triggered thing now because you've like at one point I was flying a plane.
Forces you into their
forced me into
narrative,
it, but I was flying a plane and it was like I wasn't any like you think about the circle of walking into a quest zone that'd be like, cool, you're in this quest zone now, you should probably do this. I was, you know, a couple 100 feet up in the air flying a plane and it was like, nope. And it almost like pulled me out of the plane to do this quest. And I was like, that was a little like, it was so jarring. Because it was like, it didn't pull me into the quest, but it told me I'd failed it. And then it reset me in the quest zone.
Yeah.
So I could reset the game.
Ugly.
And I was like, that's a bit shit. And now it's, yeah. But I think this, like, if Far Cry Primal was the start of like linking it to other Ubisoft games, in this one, there's like, you know, you get, it's linked to every single Ubisoft title out there to the point where, you know, there's people running around with the Rabbids helmets on and stuff in the multiplayer. Like, you know, I'm running around with a 50 cal machine gun shooting a person with a sniper rifle, but they're dressed like the Assassin's Creed Egyptian dude.
Yeah.
And it's just like, this is a bit too much. This is a bit too linked.
Too meta.
Yeah. Like I flew over something yesterday when I was playing and I was like, cool, that's definitely the Blood Dragon themed mine because it's full of neon and it's got the same symbols. And you know what? I'll leave that till the end of the game because it's going to be silly and I'm going to enjoy it, but it's going to break me out from the story again, kind of thing. So I think, yeah, that's the only complaint with this. But the story is fantastic in terms of the believability of it. And then I think the only other thing that's really annoying me about this one is compared to the other games, they've tried to make the weapons a bit too realistic. So they're really hard to wield. Like the guns kick back just far too much. It's like, that dude was dead in my sights. I shot once and the bullet's gone. See you later. Like, okay, that's just not even fun now. Like, yeah, I get I'm not a marksman. I'm playing a Ubisoft first-person shooter. I shouldn't have to be playing like one of those World War II simulators where it's like, if you don't line it up perfectly, it's not Sniper Elite kind of thing on ultimate mode. Like, I should be able to go, bang, Hillbilly fell off cliff because I shot him in the head. Fantastic. Well done, Tom. But yeah, that's kind of stopping me from doing that. But still, highly recommend. The story itself it's the most believable and slightly scary, intense one. But it will be, I think this will be my last Far Cry game. I don't know if I'll play 6.
Yeah, fair enough.
It's getting a bit much now.
Yeah, well, so Far Cry New Dawn.
That one's there, but it's takes the world of Far Cry 5 because every second game in this series is like an extension of the one that came before it.
Yeah.
And that one's like Far Cry 5 is meant to end with a nuclear holocaust, and then you're playing the nuclear holocaust. Yeah, it's a time jump. Yeah.
Yeah, new. So
I've got it. It's part of the download for free. So
five, and then New Dawn, and then 6.
Yeah, and then 6 is set in Spain,
Central America, South America,
somewhere in South America.
Yeah,
I think it is South America. Yeah,
and
so
then 7 is apparently.
It's got Moff Gideon.
multiplayer.
Moff Gideon is the main bad guy.
Yeah. Yep. Definitely.
Winning, son. Winning.
Is nice. I think that's it for our episode.
I think that's it.
I think that is.
Yep. It's 11 o'clock.
Yeah.
It's time for
all
bed.
tired and
Time for beddy
somewhat
boys.
pissy.
No, I'm going to go watch Mandalorian.
No.
It's only
I'm gonna watch it
32
tomorrow
minutes. It's the shortest episode so far in the Mando series.
That's disappointing.
Anyway.
Thank you very much for listening.
Thank you to everyone.
We hope
Thank
you
you.
enjoyed. Leave
Our
us a
usual
like, subscribe,
bullshit.
comment. Yeah. What Tom said.
Oh, yeah. And if I didn't say it out of those ones, definitely the second one was the better one.
And I think we didn't get full circle to something that we mentioned early in the podcast that we said we would get to full circle when we got to the spotlight.
No, we didn't because we didn't do the spotlight.
No, we didn't do the spotlight. So I apologize.
Oh, well. We'll figure that out
next
later.
episode.
No, we're just going
Find
to
a
tease
segue
you into
into
the
it.
next
Yeah.
episode. It's a continuation. Come with us on a journey of the mind.
Subscribe.
All you can hope for now is the next 2 episodes of Mandalorian are fucking fantastic, and we won't spend 45 minutes talking about that instead of getting to the spotlight.
No, because what will happen is you don't want that, because if that does happen, then we will spend an hour and a half talking about those 2 episodes.
We'll wait until the end of the season. Anyway, thanks for listening.
Thanks, guys.
Good night. Bye.
Bye.